Ducks trade Mason McTavish to the St. Louis Blues in exchange for picks 15 and 29 in this draft. Anaheim trades McTavish to the Blues in exchange for 15 and 29.
That was the announcement on ESPN's broadcast alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. Mason McTavish, officially a St. Louis Blue. Alex, we had talked a whole heck of a lot this offseason about who the Blues could target via trade. I don't think anybody's name was mentioned more often for the Blues than Mason McTavish. Former top 3 overall selection, a consistent 15 to 20 goal producer, 40 to 50 point producer. Truly an abomination defensively thus far in his NHL career.
An abomination.
Couldn't really get on the ice at times at the end of last season for Joel Quenneville. It was clear they were ready for a break. It just wasn't working for a million different reasons, but it was done there. He needed a fresh start somewhere else. That doesn't mean he's a bad player, but much like Jordan Kyrou, who I believe is going to go on to have success in Washington, Mason McTavish could be the kind of guy that in his second home really finds a fit that is better for him than what it was in Anaheim. I like it, Alex. Just my elevator pitch on this. If you told me in March you can trade Braden Shin and Justin Falk for Mason McTavish, how you feeling? I would say, where do I sign the dotted line, and why is the other team agreeing to this? Because that seems insane to me. And that's what they did. They traded Braden Shin for 15, or excuse me, Justin Falk for 15 and Braden Shin for 29. And those are the 2 assets that they used to acquire Mason McTavish. So I really like the deal. It does not come without risk. This is a big contract at $7 million per year. It is a young player that has his warts as a player, but he's big. He plays with physicality. He goes to the front of the net. He plays the center position. These are all things that the Blues were missing, and now they found a player in the age range that they've been targeting to come in and help them grow in 2026. How did you feel about it, Alex, as you were doing the draft show on Friday night, which was an absolute smashing success, by the way?
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. And shout out to everybody that helped with that. Mike Ryder, Jordan Deacon, Doty, Donnie, everybody was incredible to make that work. I mean, look, I won't lie and I won't be a hypocrite. There was some skepticism with this. I think Mason McTavish is a risk. To me, when you acquire a guy who gets scratched by Joel Quenneville, but also a guy that is not good defensively to a team that is coached by somebody who emphasizes defense, there's some concern on that front. So the fact that they didn't trade the 11th overall pick, though, to me was already a win. And when we had Doug on with us, who we've heard from since, that basically said, yeah, 11 was never on the table. We basically told Pat Verbeek, you're not getting 11. And Verbeek came back to the table and said, fine, 15 and 29 if this guy's here.
Verbeek was like, nah, you'll give it to us.
Yeah, Doug always caves, right, guys? But the fact that, they were only going to make that deal if their player was still there makes it even crazier that when you think about it, Columbus would have taken that guy. McTavish is still an Anaheim Duck today. But trading 15 and 29, look, to me, that's the equivalent of a first-round pick and a second-round pick, because 29 is late first, early second. There's not a whole lot of excitement surrounding that player you're going to select. So you advance the conversation with Mason McTavish by trading away a pick that would have been probably 3 years from now and a 29th pick that is definitely 3, maybe 4 years from now for a guy that comes in right now. And the thing with Mason McTavish is it concerns me because he just has not clicked with Anaheim. But after talking with Doug, and the more you think about it, Trevor Zegras is a perfect example of when it works for the change of scenery. Zegras was in the exact same spot as Mason McTavish. Maybe not as highly touted because he was a 3rd overall pick versus, I think Zegras was after 10, mid-teens. But Zegras came in, showed all of the talent, and people were like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be incredible. And the expectations were the Anaheim Ducks had been the 3rd worst team in the National Hockey League for 2 or 3 years. And they bring in Zegras, they bring in McTavish. You guys are the saviors. And the Ducks treated it that way. They brought in this 3rd overall pick. They played him that first season, 9 games, sent him 2 juniors, played only like 30 games in juniors, played 9 games in the American Hockey League, and then the next season, you're a part of our NHL roster. And I looked at this over the weekend. Look at how the Blues treated Dalibor Dvorsky when they drafted him 10th overall. They said, you're not ready, stay overseas. Didn't get a lot of playing time, transferred him to a full year of juniors, brought him to the NHL, gave him a little cup of coffee, and we're like, we need you to play in the AHL. Last season, they said stay in the AHL, and it wasn't until they were bad that they said you can develop at this level where there was no pressure. So I think it's very good for the Blues to go after a guy who's 23, who has seen the NHL but was treated as if he's the savior, and now you get to come into a roster to where you just get to go in and try and play. The Blues can work with them and fine-tune him to the way that they want. It's a risk, but I think this is the best risk you can afford with the price that you had to pay this offseason.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. Real quick, as an aside on the text line from the 573, what's wrong with the app? App down, I think. The website also down. If you want to check us out, do so on YouTube. YouTube.com/101ESPN-STL. As for the discussion at hand from the 618, what a spin! It was 2 first-round picks, not 2 old washed-up players with lots of salary that you traded. That's how you know the trade was awful. You've got to spin it to make it sound better. Maybe that's the way you view it. I don't. The Blues traded 2 older players on their roster at the deadline for the exact picks that they flipped for Mason McTavish here. And I also like the way that Alex has presented this because he's right. What you're getting in Mason McTavish is a ready-made NHL player. Now, what does that mean? There are questions about that. I'm not telling you that this is going to work out great for the Blues. I don't know. Nobody truly knows how this is going to go, not even Doug Armstrong. But he's a young player that's already gone through, I believe that Army labeled it scar tissue.
Yeah.
With the Anaheim Ducks. He's been a negative most of his NHL career in terms of his overall plus-minus. But he's going to translate offensively to the NHL level right now. That 15th overall selection, at best, you're probably talking about 3 years from now getting to the league. Probably 5 to 6 years from now becoming a legitimate player at the league. That's just a long time to wait. They already had 11 and 16 that they were going to add to their system for those roles, for the future. Now, with 15 and 29, you're able to get a guy that's ready to go right now. And again, those are directly the compensation for Shin and Falk. So, yeah, maybe you're saying it's spin. I disagree with that. I think it's exactly what the plan was at the trade deadline. Let's accumulate all these assets right now, and then we'll flip some of these for somebody that can help us. We'll use some of them in the draft to help us for the future, but let's flip some of these for things that can help us right now. And that's what they did, or they believe they did, with Mason McTavish.
Let's call it what it is. I mean, you're bringing in a project. But if you go through what the other options were at the center position, which is very obvious, that was where the Blues said we need to upgrade, is the center position. We brought up Elias Pettersson. That's a project if you take that on. Probably a worse project because of everything that's going on behind closed doors with Elias Pettersson. And then from there, what were the other center options for you?
That's the thing.
There were no centers available via trade, and then you were playing a massive commodity to go get a guys like Nyes or Jason Robertson or any of these other pieces.
Which I would have been in on, by the way.
I would have too.
But guess how many of those got dealt over the weekend?
Because like the rumor was with the Matthew Nyes conversation, a team offered 3 first-round picks for him, and they said it 3 first-round picks plus 2 roster players. This was never going to be, oh, well, we'll trade you all 4 picks and get what you want. And this is where you landed on a Mason McTavish. And I know a lot of people, including us, questioned, like, why does a guy who's a Hall of Fame coach sit a guy like Mason McTavish? And I thought Doug presented a really good point that I never really thought of with this. He had a contract dispute last offseason. Joel Quenneville was brought in the offseason. He did not sign that contract until training camp had already gone underway and the preseason started. So not that you got on his ish list, but if you're Mason McTavish, you're in a contract dispute. You're not there at the start of training camp with a brand new head coach who is a Hall of Famer who knows what he wants from his players. You're kind of already low on the pecking order in that front, and it's hard to build yourself back up to that. So I just think as much as we talked Pettersson could a change of scenery help this guy, the same can be said about a 23-year-old Mason McTavish who now just gets to go and play and mold into what the Blues want from him. But again, this is a risk. But I'd rather this risk versus a risk of a guy being a locker room problem or a risk of trading a massive commodity, including roster players, for a guy that never lives up to what you hope the potential is of what you traded away.
And you guys know I look at upside more than downside because everything has downside associated with it. The 15th overall pick, the 29th overall pick, the downside is those guys never see the NHL. And that's real, and we have to take that into account.
Correct.
So if we're going to do the downside risk with Mason McTavish, you also have to include that for the draft picks that I guess people now preferred, or the risk with Jason Robertson that he was created by the system in which he is playing or the line mates that he's playing with. What if instead of being a 40-goal scorer here, he's a 28 to 30-goal scorer here? Well, that's not going to translate to $15 million a year worth of production. What about Matthew Nyes? What if he was a product of Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, right? What if he is truly just like Jake Neighbors plus? Is that the kind of player that you want to trade 4 first-round selections for? Well, probably not. So there's risk with everybody. It's just a matter of what is the risk associated with that specific player and what's the upside. With McTavish, if you're able to figure it out defensively to where you can just get him to league average, this is a player that could really help you.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got size, he's got physicality, he can stand his ass in front of the net, which is something this team could desperately use. He plays a position and can be a second-line center, which is something that you guys know I've been shouting from the mountaintops for years. I don't see it on this roster right now, and I'm not sure we're going to be able to see it quickly enough from Dalibor Dvorsky to get what you want out of him immediately. So it fills that position on the roster. I'm worried about the defense. It is something that really concerns me with this specific coaching staff. Jim Montgomery cares a lot, as he should, about what you're able to do on the defensive side of things. And this guy's been terrible on that side of things so far in his NHL career, and it's not as though he's playing for a bad coach. He hasn't. He's played for Greg Cronin, who you think so highly of that you hired him, and he's played for one of the greatest coaches in the last 25 years in the NHL. Say what you will about Q, there's other stuff there, obviously, but as a coach of hockey, the guy's unbelievable. And it didn't work there. That's a question mark. He's also incredibly slow.
Yeah.
And now you look at what this Blues team is, and there are some real questions about foot speed. Now, can it work? Maybe. Maybe your system can make up for that. But there are questions about the foot speed on this team as well. So there are legitimate gripes on what this roster is going to be, and you kind of locked yourself in to a decent portion of this core now, but there's also reasons to be excited. So I understand both sides. Yep. I would have made the move, though. I think it's the kind of risk that I would have been in favor of.
I wouldn't have made the move for the 11th overall pick. And that's why the fact that you did it for 15 and 29, I understand it's first versus 1, but I feel like making sure that you're drafting somebody at 11 and trading 15 when you have 16 makes so much more sense. But let's also call a spade here. We're talking about his lack of defense, how slow he is. Guys, Braden Shen wasn't the fleetest of foot. Braden Shen was not great defensively in his last 3 years with the Blues.
No doubt.
And people liked Braden Shen because of what he brought.
Did they like this version of Braden Shen, or did they like their memories of Braden Shen in a Blues uniform?
And I think they like the leadership.
I'm being serious.
But I think they like the leadership of Braden Shen. I think they like the nastiness and the sticking up for your teammates of Braden Shen. And I don't know if any of those apply to Mason McTavish. But what I will say is Trevor Zegras was awful in his first 4 years with Anaheim. Couldn't stay healthy, was a minus 52 in 4 years. Went to Philadelphia with a defensive-minded coach when he was 24 years old, scored 67 points and was an even plus-minus. Sometimes guys benefit to go elsewhere that have different game plans of how they want to play. And Mason McTavish, if you read the scouting report or talk to people that scout NHL players, he's a prototypical Blue. He's big, he goes north, he wins puck battles, and he goes to the front of the net.
Now, I think there's real potential here that it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
I really do. A former top 3 pick, the kind of asset that the Blues just have not had access to in a really long time. And the style of player that speaks to this fan base. You know, if he can figure it out defensively, or at least he masks some of those issues by the physicality in his own end, I think you will see Blues fans really take to this player.
I agree.
If he doesn't figure that stuff out, though, what you might end up seeing is he slots in as a long-term third-line center or third-line winger that just brings some physicality and grit to the game. And then I think there will be questions about the contract, what it locks you into, the assets that you gave up for it. But I would have made this move.
Yeah, I would have too.
If we went through the weekend And Pettersson was not dealt. Robertson was not dealt. You saw what Diorfiev ended up getting.
$11 million.
$11 million, 7 years on that contract. Who was it? Nyes did not get dealt. After you looked
the second overall pick didn't get dealt. Stenberg
One
went.
of the top 7 got dealt, and I know sounds like they had interest in doing that.
Yeah.
I think this is the direction that I would have gone as well.
Yeah.
I agreed with it because I don't think that you could have just stood pat. I don't think that would have been a good way to go about it.
Shane Wright didn't get dealt. Matty Beniers didn't get dealt. Nobody from Ottawa got dealt. If there was another center that was moved over the weekend, then I would be a little bit more critical, saying, how did you not go after this guy? But the fact that this was the best available center that was out there, you did what I said your task was this offseason, upgrade the center position. Will it work out? You locked in for 6 years, so we'll find out. But
better.
I locked
We
in.
got 6 years to find out,
I locked
baby.
in for 6 years with a 23-year-old versus locked in for 6 years with a 28-year-old or a 29-year-old. And that I'm a little bit more optimistic with.
With Alex and T-Bone on BK, it's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. As we mentioned, the website is down right now, so if you're trying to get us over on the app, that's the way that you normally listen. Check us out on YouTube today, youtube.com/101ESPN STL. You can always get involved via the text line as well, 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. We've got a lot of runway today between 11 and 2, and I use that word because John Mozeliak is back in baseball, and we'll react to that later on
Patience, everyone.
this
We'll get to it.
afternoon. We'll get to questions and answers as well, but next, the biggest surprise of the weekend, Alex, was not the Blues trading for Mason McTavish. It was the other trade that they decided to make on Saturday. We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN. The biggest surprise of the weekend for the Blues was not the addition of Mason McTavish. We heard a lot about that leading into the NHL draft. What surprised me, though, Alex, is that the Blues decided it was worth their time and their investment to trade for another player, this time a defenseman in Brandon Carlo. Now, they had previously been reported to be interested in Carlo. If you remember, at the deadline a couple of years ago, they were in on him. And ultimately, the Toronto Maple Leafs said, here's all of our assets, Boston. Please take them from us.
All of them.
So we can get this second pair defenseman. And ultimately, it went really poorly.
Yeah, great asset management, Toronto.
The Toronto Maple Leafs, which is why their general manager was fired.
Though? Because they still got the first overall pick. It would have looked a lot worse if they wouldn't have fallen out of the top 10 and then that pick went to Boston. That would have been the one that probably would have stung more.
Let's not count on how high that 2028 pick could be for them.
That's true.
Okay, so Brandon Carlo is the newest Blue. Previously with Boston and Toronto, played with Jim Montgomery. That's where he got the best years of his NHL career. Here's Doug Armstrong with Alex Ferrario over the weekend talking about the... Actually, this is not with you, Alex, because this was on Saturday. Here's Doug Armstrong talking to the media over the weekend on Brandon Carlo and how this impacts the roster.
We think that Juracek is going to come in and have a great training camp. And I know you guys are sick of me saying this, but the NHL fails more people than players fail the NHL. So we don't want to put someone in a position where they're surviving. We want to let them put them in a position where they can potentially thrive. And so Juracek is going to have the opportunity to come in here and push. But we're in for the marathon with this young man. He played a whack of hockey last year, I think 90-plus games. But if you look at the number of games he played the 2 years before that, it wasn't a lot. So sort of hope for the best and plan for the worst might be the best way to look at this. It's a one-year deal, too.
So the first thing I thought of was, okay, so they're telling me Juracek's in the American Hockey League this year. Now, I don't know that to be true. I think they do truly view this as, hey, he's going to come into camp and he's going to have to try and outplay Mayu, Lindstein, and Tucker. If he can outplay those guys, and even a Matt Kessel if he signs a contract as an RFA, then there's a chance he makes this roster, because it's a good thing if Lindstein's not as good as Juracek and Lindstein starts in the minor leagues. But they brought in Carlo because everything and everybody you would talk to last year said they truly lacked that veteran knowledge on the back end that Suter and Leddy provided 2 years ago. And without those guys, you saw Mayu struggle. You saw the other defensemen struggle, including Fowler and at times Parayko, because you were trying to cover up the warts for the youth that was on your roster. Like Tyler Tucker thrived to where people were like, you can't take this guy out of the lineup, because he was playing with Ryan Suter that Tucker has told us, like, hey, Suter was so good for me because he told me where I needed to go. So I viewed this as, look, they knew they needed to go get more veteran presence on the back end. And for 2 third-round picks that don't become a part of your roster, if they become a part of your roster in 4 or 5 years, you're getting a guy who's ready to play now and has been at his best when he played under Jim Montgomery in Boston. He was a plus 44 with like 16 or 17 points. Plus, he's 6'5", 200-something pounds. Like, thank you. We finally got the Mongoon.
He's the Mongoon you've been looking for.
Finally. So this, to me, was protection to...
Not overly physical, though.
Hey, look, way to ruin the moment.
Hey, man.
Read the room.
Hey, man. Sometimes you just got to pick your places, okay? If you're big like that, you just got to use the intimidation factor. Damn, BK.
Not the spot. Was that a bad timing?
Yeah,
Okay, I
Dan,
apologize.
dog, keep your opinions to yourself, okay? Jeez. This was protection for your younger players. And, I mean, Doug's right. Like, organizations fail players. Look at what we just talked about with Mason McTavish. So this was to ease the growth of Lindstein and Mayu and provide a guy who could play 20 minutes a night if you need to pull back a little bit on guys like Mayu and Lindstein. So I loved the move, because for 2 third-round picks to get this guy for 1 year, it's a smart decision. Don't re-sign him yet, though, like we usually do with defensemen. Don't re-sign him. Let him play, then decide what you need to do.
I don't think they're going to. I don't think that's the plan here. My guess is...
flip him.
Yeah, I think that's in play. I also think they're looking at this as a stopgap option. And I think it provides them a little... I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. I think it insulates them from basically any of the following scenarios. 1, Colton Parayko is dealt. I think it provides some insurance in the event that he's traded at some point over the next year. and he decides, you know what, I do think it's better for me to go elsewhere. Let's explore some possibilities. All right, well, in that case, Brandon Carlo is 29 years old. You could then extend him, Alex, if you decide to make that move with Parayko, because Carlo can play in your top 4, and it's not going to be a disaster for you.
Right.
You can get away with that just fine. The other scenario here, now it's a different handedness, but we know these guys can typically play on their offhand if needed. It could provide a little flexibility in the event that something happens with Cam Fowler. If there was like some kind of a trade that emerged for him. And as you mentioned, it provides you insurance if Adam Jiricek is not ready.
Yeah.
So for all of those different reasons, I loved this move. I like the move for McTavish, and it's the move that I would have made. This one, I have a full cosign on. I have no notes, 2 third-round picks for a guy that can play in your top 4 defensively for you, adds insurance for you. We saw last year what happens when you lose some of these guys, or when there are guys that are in positions where it's just very clear they're not ready for them just yet. I love it. I have no questions about making the move for Brandon Carlo whatsoever. I thought it was the best move they made this weekend.
And
honestly.
the big thing, too, with Jiricek is, like, people have been glowing about how great it is to have Steve Ott in your minor leagues and developing these guys. Is it a bad thing to have Jiricek play 30 games in the American Hockey League at the start of this year and play with Steve Ott and be the best defenseman down there and force your hand to say, hey, we've got to find a spot for this player? Because it's real easy to make a Mayu a third-pair defenseman, or to pull a Lindstein out of the lineup and maybe play Carlo on the left side. I just don't think there's anything wrong with protecting your assets and making sure that they're ready to go, rather than say, hey, we're going to be a bad team this year. Let's put Jiricek into the fire and watch him struggle.
How do you think this all sets up? Like, if you had to project it today, what do you think the defensive pairings look like when we get to the season?
I would say, for me, Broberg and Mayu start off together. Lindstein and Parayko start off together. And Fowler and Carlo start together with Tucker as the 7th defenseman.
That would be my guess as well.
I think they really want to get the best out of Cam Fowler to use his offense. And they lacked that last year for at least the first 3 quarters of the season. And a lot of that was because he was playing with Mayu. Some guys just can't work with younger defensemen that don't understand the ins and outs of the game. And I think Broberg covered up a lot of those warts last year when they played with Mayu down the stretch. And I think Carlo brings the best out of Fowler, a stay-at-home defenseman that allows Fowler to just go and jump into the offense.
My guess is Lindstein with Parayko, Broberg with Carlo, and Fowler with Mayu.
Yeah.
I know that means some babysitting from Fowler. I would also add this. I thought Mayu was much better by the end of the season last year. Different role,
the hope is
different
less
situation
this year.
Yeah,
exactly.
He grew last year.
And if he's able to grow and you can play him, 14 minutes a night, and you get those other pairs that can play closer to 20-ish minutes a night, I think you're in a pretty good spot out of those 3 defensive pairings. I feel much more confident about that than I did really any defensive pairing groups that I've talked about over the last 3 or 4 years here in St. Louis. I think they're on their way to feeling pretty good about these groups. And if you have that with Tucker and Jiricek as your next call-ups, I think they're in a good spot, man, defensively. Now, forwards, questions. But defensively, I feel like you're in a pretty good spot.
Texted in on the Air Comfort Service text line saying 2 third-round picks for a bad player is a terrible trade.
I mean, name 2 third-round picks.
Well, that's the thing. First of all, tell me,
made an NHL team. Go
2
for
third-round picks that turn out to be something. And second of all, what makes Brandon Carlo a bad player? He's never been
he's
average
last year. Yeah.
Brandon Carlo is average, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Did they trade for Brandon Carlo to be a guy that's your number 1 defenseman?
No.
Did they trade for Brandon Carlo to come be the guy that's going to play on your number 1 power play unit? No. They traded for Brandon Carlo to be a guy who could play 17 minutes a night, play on your penalty kill, which was bad last year. Brandon Carlo has never been a minus in his entire career. In a single season, he's never been a minus.
And on that Toronto team, which ended up with the number 1 overall selection?
Yes.
That's pretty damn impressive.
He plays 20 minutes a night. This to me is the perfect trade for a team that needed to replace what Ryan Suter brought 2 years ago. You're bringing in a veteran guy who understands the defensive zone, who's big and can defend the front of the net. And your penalty kill gets better. For 2 third-round picks, to me, they're not in asset accumulation mode anymore. That's what I learned over this weekend. They traded 2 firsts and 2 thirds to bring in guys who excels this situation that the Blues are in, and you better 2 positions that you were weak at last year.
All right, I'll give you the 3rd-round selections the Blues have made since 2010. Oh. To put some context on this.
I'd like to see how many Tanner knows.
A surprisingly high number of players, actually. They're
First
pretty
off,
good.
a little offended.
Oh, come on.
Max Gardner.
Never heard of him. Now, to be fair, I don't think that guy made the NHL.
I don't think he did.
Jordan Binnington.
Heard of him. Kind of won a cup,
Almost
you
a
know.
bust before the
Also,
cup
the guy
season,
that Alex
guys.
keeps
To be
defending when
fair,
he's bad.
took 8 years to get here.
Yeah.
Literally stayed in the American
Goalie's
Hockey
very
League.
different.
Colton Parayko.
Heard of him.
Mackenzie McEachern.
I remember the name.
Jake
Not
Wallman.
all you need from him.
Oh, yeah. The number one defenseman in Edmonton these days.
Colton Ellis.
I know the name.
Right now,
Dylan-
goalies are looking good in the third round.
Dylan Peterson.
I know the name.
Leo
We've interviewed
Loof.
him.
Leo Loof,
one of
my
Alex's
dude.
personal
He's gone back to
favorites.
Sweden, by the way.
Simon Robertson.
That one I'm not
Michael
familiar with.
Buchinger.
Buchinger.
I remember him.
Alexandre Kaskamaki, a guy that Alex for 5 years has been
Boy,
telling
what I'm
me will
learning
be
is
on the NHL
I'm glad
roster.
they didn't add 3 third-round picks.
By the
All
way,
I
I
hear
don't
from
know.
Alex is
I don't
about
think
these guys.
Kaskamaki's making this team. I don't know where the hell he's
Bukarchi.
playing.
I've been willing to say that for the last 5 years.
Quentin Burns.
Yeah, that was
I
the
remember
guy
the
that,
name.
that we drafted. He was drafted in Nashville when we were there.
Andre Koss.
That one I don't remember.
Adam
at all.
Jecko.
I don't remember that one either.
End of list.
Yeah.
So it
Binnington
has
and
worked
Parayko.
out at times.
Binnington and Parayko.
I would say this
And
goes
Wallman,
back
to
to
be
our
fair,
conversation
didn't work here,
about
but-
the Blues. They're really good at drafting.
Yes, they are.
So if they made a couple of third-round selections, there was a chance one of them became a good NHL player. Mm-hmm. But you got a good NHL player, or at least an above-average NHL player, and that is valuable for what they need right now. They also had 4 first-round selections this year and traded 2 of them for another NHL rostered player.
Yeah.
So the Blues are doing A-okay when it comes to the draft picks that they had available to them.
And how often do we talk about it with the Cardinals in the previous regime about, hey, they rush their prospects too quickly when they're not ready. And you look at how it took Jordan Walker, 4 years to figure it out, 3 years to figure it out at the major league level. That's one thing as well to credit to the Blues, as we've been talking about. They don't rush their guys. Now, was I surprised they added Carlo to kind of block Yurchek for this year, the way it seems? Yeah, but it makes sense in hindsight. Like you guys have talked about, of the downside of potentially rushing Yurchek, let him to develop. There's nothing wrong with continuing to allow prospects to develop. We've talked about this with the Blues and the Cardinals all the time. Bias. There's nothing wrong with keeping him down at AAA right now for the Cardinals. So I'm with you guys. I like the move. Sure, 2 third-round picks. They've had success in that before. It's okay to have a stopgap option, long as it works out the way that they're planning it
From
to.
the names that you just listed off, and Dylan Peterson on, how many of those guys do you think are going to be on the NHL roster in the next couple of years?
At most 1. I'd set the over-under at 0.5.
And I'd probably take the under because of where your roster's at right now. Like maybe Peterson and Kaskamaki are guys you call up to play a 4th-line role if injuries happen or if
They
you
could
need
be
a
in like
spark.
the Sonny Nathan Walker role.
But they're not everyday players. And that's what you're getting with third-round picks. Like you're getting guys who are fringe NHL guys who spend a majority of their career in the American Hockey League. And, yeah, you strike a few times. But more times than not, you're sitting on the outside. And guess what? They still drafted a guy in the 3rd round. They still made a 3rd-round pick. If they would have traded all 3 thirds, then sure, I can hear your upset conversations of, well, you traded your entire 3rd round for Carlo. You still made a pick. So to me, you upgraded your roster while continuing to draft and develop, and that's where I feel like it's a win-win for the Blues this offseason.
From the 4-2-3, how can you build the farm system when you're trading all of your picks?
Oh, jeez. All right, now they're just trying to get at me.
Didn't they make 9 selections?
Yeah, they did. Like, where's your farm system's probably still going to be in the top 10 this year.
They drafted 9 players this year. 9. Including
They could have had 13, Brandon.
including 2 in the first round, in the top half of the first round, in fact.
You know what? I'm
So,
glad they didn't make another pick in the
They're-
first round because they weren't going to take Ethan
Guys.
Belchez, and I'm really upset about it.
This market's changed in the 5 years I've been here. One, the Cardinals stink and people are okay with it and say they should sell even when they have a winning record. And now people are upset the Blues are trading 3rd-round picks. I don't get this market anymore.
From
Everything's changing.
Come grow with us, buddy.
from the 314, can you guys please compare the new defenseman and Brandon Carlo with guys like Joel Edmondson or Robert Bortuzzo? He doesn't have the physicality, I don't think, of Robert Bortuzzo. Edmondson's actually a pretty good comparison.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably somewhere in between both of them. I think Edmondson had more offensive upside, and I think Bortuzzo...
Edmondson never had more than 20 points in his NHL career.
Yeah, but didn't he get double digits in goals once?
No, 7 was his career
There was
high.
a season where he was, I just think he was more of a threat, but both of them were incredible penalty killers. Now, Bortuzzo had his moments to where he was in and out of the lineup, and Brandon Carlo is always a guy that I think is in the lineup for a team. Bortuzzo was a perfect 7th defenseman for rosters, and this guy is without question, in your top 6 no matter what. So I think he's somewhere in between Edmondson and Bortuzzo.
Yeah, I think Gunnarsson, Edmondson, that kind of player. I think
Gunnarsson's a really good one, like a right-handed Gunnarsson, but no, like Gunnarsson never was a physical defenseman. And I don't know if Carlo is, but Carlo's not afraid to defend the front of the net.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is the best thing about him. He's big. He will use his stick to defend the crease, and more importantly, he will get a little physical if you need him to.
Yeah, I think Gunnarsson / Edmondson, those two guys I think are probably more in line with what you should expect out of Brandon Carlo. All right, coming up in 10 minutes, we'll get into questions and answers, but next, it's hard to ignore the similarities that we're witnessing right now between the Cardinals of 2026 and the Cardinals of 2025. Are we about to go through the same thing we did with that team? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals beat the Marlins yesterday 2-1 as they salvage a game in that 3-game set here at home. They are off today as they travel out to Atlanta, where tomorrow night they'll start a 3-game set with the Atlanta Braves. 6:15 will be first pitch. Martin Perez will get the start for Atlanta. Matthew Liberatore will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
All right, listen, we've talked around it. It's hard to ignore at this point. The Cardinals in 2026 look a whole lot like the Cardinals in 2025.
You know what? I say we keep going with the Blues here.
Now, that's not to say the feeling is the same.
It's getting there.
Because I feel much better about this team, the trajectory, where they're at, where they're going, than I did at this time last year. I don't know if you guys remember the conversations. They weren't particularly fun. There was a whole lot of, what's the plan here? Where are you going?
At least they have a direction.
I feel very confident in what Alex just said. I'm pretty confident they know where they're going, and they've got some answers that help them get there this year. But Alex, are you fearful at this point of the exact same thing happening all over again? Because last year, if you remember, The Cardinals were 47-38 on June 29th. And then we got to the trade deadline, and they were like right at 500. They went through a disastrous close to the first half and open of the second half, including, remember that series against the Diamondbacks where we were like, oh, okay, yep, this is over. And then they lost 2 out of 3 against Colorado right before the deadline, and it was like, oh, okay, that's really it. Ouch. We don't need any more information. It's done. And you were 52-51 through the first 103 games of the season.
Yeah.
Do you see that happening again?
I'm concerned it is coming. Like, that series loss to the Marlins, if not for that win against the Padres, I think I'd be sounding the alarm bells right now. Because with that Padres win, and that was a team that you were competing with for a wild card spot, you lose to the Twins, who are fighting for a wild card spot. You lose to the Royals, who are the worst team in the American League. You lose to the Diamondbacks, who are fighting for a wild card spot. And then you just lost to the Marlins, who are doing the same. Like, the Padres one is the saving grace, but I look at what's ahead for this Cardinals team and what just happened to them to where their offense isn't doing a whole lot. Your pitching's starting to break a little bit more. I just don't know how you survive coming off of series with Braves, Cubs, Brewers, and Braves going into the All-Star break. Like, right now, watching what they've done and how they've struggled, I'm a little concerned you maybe only win 1 series over the next 4. And if that's the case, as much as I've enjoyed this season, I don't know how you could sell anybody on, well, they should be buyers, because no matter where you're at in the standings, that's who you're competing with, and you've lost to these teams. So, yeah, I'm starting to get a little bit more concerned that what happened last year to where you became sellers and pretty clear where you're headed, that might happen by the All-Star break this year.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say, no, this is different, but, man, the more I watch them, the more I go, man, this feels the same. Because it's not even the Marlins series for me, because, look, the Marlins are a good baseball team, and like you said, they're kind of in the same ilk as you. It's going back and circling the Twins and Royals series and then watching them kind of scuffle through this part with the Diamondbacks and the Marlins. And if you're not playing your best baseball when you get ready to go up against the Braves, the Cubs, the Brewers, yeah, good luck. I mean, that's where you can really fall out of this. So I still think it's a little different because they now have at least something they can lean back on, which is the top 4 in their order, which, look, I get it. We'll talk about it. They haven't been hitting of late. I'm not concerned about them, but it's a matter of can they get going before the season is out of reach. And what I mean by that is there's a chance within the next 2 weeks you automatically become sellers.
I'm worried.
I was going to say, man, are you going to sell people on it's fine?
I think it all comes down to your belief in this offense. Because we all knew that the pitching, best case scenario, pretty average, right? And now you skip to start for Dustin May. He's the guy I feel the best about in this rotation. If there are any lingering effects for a guy that has not exactly had a sterling record with health, that's not ideal. Liberator does not appear to me to be a guy that I would want to be in the rotation. They clearly disagree with that assessment. That's fine. But I'm not thrilled when he's starting, and he's starting tomorrow. There are cracks in the pitching, especially in the bullpen. I don't feel as good today about George Soriano as I did as recently as a month ago. We've seen Riley O'Brien go through some ups and downs this season. Really, the only guy that looks really good right now is JoJo coming out of the pen. It comes down to, are you a believer that this is a legit top 5 to 10 offense in Major League Baseball? And they have not played that way for a couple of weeks. And the reason for it is basically Jordan Walker's gone cold with his slugging percentage. J.J. Weatherholt went cold overall there for about a week. And Ivan Herrera is not hitting for any power. He's getting on base still. Like, his slump right now, it's kind of amazing. His slump is a 400 on base percentage, which is crazy. That's amazing.
I'll take that.
And he's still at like a 650 OPS. But the problem is, man, if you've got a 400 on base percentage and your OPS over that stretch is only like 650, that speaks to just how little slugging you're doing. So he's just not hitting for any power. And this offense cannot succeed the way that it was without Herrera, JJ, and Walker playing like the all-star level players that they were for the first 2 months of the regular season.
And the Marlins series isn't as concerning for that because, like, that's a really good pitching staff. The Diamondbacks is the one where I thought they were going to have more success. And, I mean, you scored a total of, 8 or 9 runs in those 3 games?
Yeah, it wasn't great.
That's the one where I was like, uh-oh, what's going on here? The Marlins one makes total sense, but here's the problem. You're going up against Atlanta and Milwaukee. So, like, you're going up against two of the best pitching staffs.
Atlanta does nothing for me with their pitching, to be honest with you.
I mean, I get it, but they've backed it up with how good they've pitched so far this season as a whole.
I know. Yeah, the numbers tell me that I'm wrong on this, but
And if you can't hit the Royals, well, they hit the Royals. Their pitching struggled against the Royals. But if you can't hit the Diamondbacks or the Marlins, who are a good pitching staff, I'd be very worried about Atlanta and Milwaukee. And if that's the case, you're talking about one series that I'd feel comfortable with going into the All-Star break.
And I don't feel comfortable about your pitching 4th of July weekend at Wrigley going up against that Cubs offense.
And if that's the case, how do I justify anything to where you've lost, in this scenario, 6 of 7 series going into the All-Star breaks?
You can't. You have to be able to play better than that going into the All-Star break. Yeah. Like, I think this team is... Their predisposition is we've got to be sellers at the trade deadline. Their goal going in, or their plan going in, was we're going to accumulate all of these assets, and then we probably trade Jojo Romero, Dustin May, Lars Nootbaar at this year's trade deadline, because they have natural pieces to put into those spots. Like Bryson Motts could just take the Jojo Romero role for the second half of the season. You could put Joshua Baez into left field, right? You bring up Hunter Dobbins and he just takes the spot of Dustin May. It's very clear what the transition would be after the trade deadline if they made those moves, and they're able to accumulate even more assets to backfill within your system. So I understand that plan. The team has to play well enough to knock them off of that plan, to adjust accordingly, and that means really seeing some significant improvements over the next 3 weeks. I mean, it's getting late early here, and if they don't start to improve, then Chaim Bloom is just going to do the thing that he always probably planned to do anyways.
Yeah, and I think to your point on how much do you believe in the offense is kind of the question of this. I think you're 100% spot on, because it's the one thing that has shown upside this season. For the rotation, I mean, it's been fine is the best way to kind of describe it. Same with the bullpen. It's been fine. There hasn't been a ton of upside to either of those. And I'm with you. When I look at, like, the Braves, for example, like, man, that pitching staff, like, I don't care what the numbers say. That is not a bunch of names that I look at and say should be able to stop a good offense. Same with the Cubs right now. Like, I'm 100% with you. The Cardinals pitching, it's going to be a nightmare there 4th of July weekend at that ballpark. It should be a nightmare for the Cubs pitching as well, because they're stuck together with toothpicks and bubble gum right now. So if there's going to be a way to kind of avoid going into that, it's going to be the offense has to really slug against the Braves, Cubs, and the Braves again. Milwaukee's a different story because they are a very good team, but you almost have to really take care of business against the Braves twice and then the Cubs in that series on the road.
If you told me before the season we'd get halfway through the year and the Cardinals would be 5 games above 500, Jordan Walker would be a legit all-star candidate, Alec Burleson would be batting .280 and on pace for 105 RBIs, J.J. Weatherholt would be on pace, even though T-Bone hates it, for 7 wins.
It's not Pujols.
Ivan Herrera would be getting on base for the year at that point at a 400 clip. And you will have some really interesting young players. Chaim Bloom will be aggressive in his deployment of the players that were at AAA and calling them up and sending down guys that were struggling. If you had told me that on opening day this year, I would have signed up for it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It feels a little disappointing right now, given where we were and where things currently stand. But the first half of the season, make no mistake about it, has been an overwhelming success for the 2026 St. Louis Cardinals, both for what this season is expected to be and also what the long-term plan remains for them. So it's disappointing. It's frustrating to watch currently, but all of the same stuff that we had been saying as recently as 2 weeks ago, it still applies to the Cardinals, even though right now it feels bad.
I mean, I get that you're frustrated because you thought that, like, this team was potentially pushing for a playoffs. And look, they're still in this. It just depends on what happens over the next 3 weeks. Regardless of what happens, you could finish missing the playoffs and being a seller at the deadline. I am still more than 100% pleased with this season because you finally have a direction and you have answers. Like,
yes,
we haven't had answers in years for a lot of these guys.
Good and bad, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of them, it's not going well, but that's all right.
But you've learned about those guys, and now you go into next season with answers on top of having a clear direction, which I think is all you wanted this season for the Cardinals.
Yeah, and I think that right there might be the biggest storyline so far of the first half, is you're finally starting to get answers. You know what, Gorman? Not a part of the core moving forward. Yeah. Victor Scott, jury's still out, I would say, but leaning towards not a part of the core in the long-term picture. Jordan Walker, part of the core. J.J. Weatherholt, clearly part of the core.
be a face
Juan
of it.
Herrera, Alec Burleson. Yeah, and you're getting answers in your minor league system that are positive, right? Like
And on
Joshua
your pitching
Baez
staff.
is knocking on the door to try and get here to the big leagues. Reinel Rodriguez, they promoted up to Double-A already. So I think, yeah, the storyline is you're starting to see these pieces kind of fall into place. Now, that doesn't mean a bad second half from Jordan Walker couldn't change that equation a little bit, but I would be shocked by that from what we've seen so far.
By the way, just as a nerdy number for you guys, because I find it interesting, maybe nobody else does, but it's for
Is
me.
it freaking war again?
No, it's the Woe Bacon.
Okay, so right
the
now,
whoopsie factor.
Cardinals currently on pace to be worth at least 5 wins above replacement in 2026. J.J. Weatherholt, Jordan Walker, Ivan Herrera.
That matches the eye test.
That is 3 players aged 26 or younger on pace for at least 5 wins this year.
T-Bone is going to hate this so much.
No, hold on.
When do you think the last time was that the Cardinals had a team with at least 3 players at that age or younger match that criteria? 5 wins in a season.
What was the age? 20 what?
26 or younger.
Oh, man. Would any of those teams in like the
29
2015?
I was thinking 20. When did Flaherty go off? Was that 2019?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Who else was on that? Because Carlos was pretty good at that time, right?
Yeah, but he would have been older.
What about
Clark would have been older. Piscotti?
Wong, Grichuk?
We'll go 2019.
2019.
It's never happened.
Oh, shut up.
In the entire history of the organization.
This is a dumb cherry-picked stat, and it doesn't matter.
It does matter
They didn't
because
have war in the 80s.
it is a reminder. They did, actually.
They didn't have it in the
They
States.
added
all
that
the way
later.
back to 1899 when Bobby Wallace had a great season for
Bobby Wallace. I
your
have his jersey
St.
at home
Louis
still.
Cardinals. 5'8", $170, just an absolute tank for the Cardinals in 1899.
War number
When,
42.
as we all know, he posted 14 triples and 108 RBIs in that season. Yeah, good player
Like a
for the
little
St. Louis
Jose
Cardinals.
Altuve we had back then.
Bobby, calm down over there.
It's a good year. It's just frustrating right now to watch. All right, coming up in about 10 minutes.
A historic year.
Yeah,
What are you
potentially.
talking about, man?
We're not there yet, but that's the current pace. Coming up in about 10 minutes, the Blues have some legitimate intrigue for their second line. How would you construct that? We'll get into that coming up here in just a little bit. Questions and answers next here on 101 ESPN. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in right now. You can also do so on YouTube at youtube.com/101ESPN STL, which, by the way, is where you can go back to re-listen and re-watch the draft show from Friday night, which was a huge success. Alex and Donnie did an unbelievable job. He won't say it, so I will. Also, thanks to all of you that tuned into that thing. Got 17,000 views?
Yeah, I think when we wrapped, we were at 18,000.
19,000 is what
it's
at
what it
today.
Is now? Wow.
19K.
Yeah, thank you to everybody.
That's unbelievable. Shout out to each and every one of you that checked out what they had to do. And thanks to the Blues for accommodating the guys as well. They were able to bring over Doug Armstrong during that thing. Everything went incredibly well, so shout out to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, the excitement was there, obviously, with the picks, and, you could just kind of feel the anticipation, but it went off without a hitch. And shout out to Doty as well, because we did not drop at all. And with that many people, I was very worried that just connection-wise at Enterprise, you just never know what's going to happen. But everything went off smoothly, but that was a lot of fun, and I appreciate everybody joining in with it.
From the 801, are the Blues done as we head into free agency? Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I just told the guys, they got, when Crew goes on LTIR, they're going to have $19 million in cap space. So you'd look at that and be like, oh, they're so not done. But I don't know where you look at this roster and say, well, they need something here. We're going to get into it in the next segment. To me, there's no spot in the offense. There's no spot on the defense. You're not going goaltending. So I think if they're making moves, it's either another trade, which I don't know who, or you're signing two-way contracts for guys that'll be in the minors but can compete with roster spots.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers from the 314. Guys, what do you think of what Mason Molina is doing at AA right now? Do you think he could be a part of the core in a couple of years? I feel like every month there's a new pitcher that kind of emerges in the Cardinals system that has people's attention.
And that's how pitching goes.
The most recent being Mason Molina. So could he be a part of the core? Absolutely. Could he get hurt next week and we never hear from him again? Yep, sure could.
Or could he just get lit up next month and he's back to having a 7 ERA and nobody's talking about
him?
The
goal for the Cardinals is to have so many of these different guys in the system that even if 3 or 4 of them work out, it's a success. Pitching prospects will break your heart, man. So I try not to get too attached to any of them. Yeah. But yes, he's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and this is why I said at the beginning here, I felt better about their depth as an organization. I mean, you look at him, he's interesting down there at the AA level. That we'll see how he translates once he gets to AAA. But BK's right. This is why you got to accumulate these guys, because they can break rather easily and they can just not develop to the next level, as we've seen with multiple pitching prospects in years past.
From Starvin Marvin, so you guys going to cover the draft picks at all? I really liked the Tynan Lawrence pick. Yeah. That's pretty much what I've got for you.
Yeah, I mean, I had Donati, who he had on the draft show. He texted me the moment they drafted Tynan Lawrence and said, F yes. So goes to show you a prospect guy who's around these guys thought that was a hell of a pick. And I know the experts gave it a C+ for that draft pick. I mean, you take those experts with a grain of salt. But to me, look at the track.
Don't know bleep.
Well, look at the track record of what they've said about drafts versus what the Blues have had in terms of drafts. They thought that the pick of Jimmy Snuggerud was a reach when the Blues selected him. So I loved that one. People know, if you listen to that draft show, I was very upset that they did not take Ethan Belchez at 16.
You were very attached to him.
I mean, why wouldn't you be? He's 18 years old. He's 6'5", 220 pounds. I don't know why you wouldn't
Isn't that
be.
Basically what the guy was that they selected out of the queue?
Yeah, he's a center.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay.
Belchez,
again, read the room, freaking Brandon.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know much about this Maddox, because when you go through all these mocks, he wasn't in the first round for a lot of them, and then he was in the late first round portion. What do they know?
That was.
This is why, I could be upset about it, but I'm not going to doubt him.
You'll know this better than me. Who was it? It was either Lindstein or Stenberg that year that they got drafted.
It was Lindstein.
Everybody looked at it and said, this guy was in the 4th round of our draft, and the Blues reached up and got him in the first, and now it's early, but
he looked fine
early
last year.
Return seemed fine.
To me, they emphasized the center position, and it's very obvious. I think they took one winger in this entire draft. It was center and defenseman and a goaltender. So as much as I would want Belchez, this kid might be a center version of Belchez for all I know, and that's the area that they lacked depth-wise. So I saw a lot of people with C+ for the Blues. I thought it was, I don't know if I'd give it an A+, but I thought it was a B+ draft. You got the guy you wanted. and you added more depth down the middle, which is important for your pipeline.
That's Alex. He's T-Bone. I'm BK. Coming up in 15 minutes, what's your level of belief that this offense will get turned around for the St. Louis Cardinals? We'll get into that coming up here in just a bit. But next, there is some intrigue for the Blues on how they're going to assemble the line combinations this upcoming year. How would you do so as currently constructed? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So the Blues made a couple of trades over the last week. They trade Jordan Kyrou, get Connor McMichael in return. Trade a couple of first-round picks, get Mason McTavish in return. This has changed the look of your middle six when it comes to the forwards for this team. Alex, I am curious because they're going to have some decisions to make on how to construct this roster. We've got a lot of time between now and the start of training camp, but what is this time of the year if not for kind of looking ahead on what it's going to look like.
You think of what I'm thinking? Lineup game. T-Bone hit the open.
Guess the lines. How would you go about this, Alex, if you were in Jim Montgomery's shoes?
So I'm starting the season with Holloway, Thomas, and Snuggerud. That line, I want to see what it looks like first. And the second line for me would be McMichael with McTavish and Buchnevich. Because if McTavish is not great defensively, I believe the Blues view it, and I'm saying that because I know a lot of people won't agree with what I'm going to say. The Blues view as Pavel Buchnevich as one of their best defensive forwards. And I think they will put him on a wing to play with the centerman to make sure that he's covered in terms of learning that system that they're playing with. And I believe you got to have somebody who can shoot and create offense off the rush, which is a McMichael. And then your third line, to me, is Neighbors, Dvorsky, and Berggren. And that's the understanding that they re-sign Berggren. My guess is they will re-sign Berggren. But Berggren goes into that spot, and Neighbors is your net front presence with Dvorsky as the center. And then I think your fourth line would be a Suter, Finley, and Toropchenko with Walker and Druin as your extra forwards.
The only thing that I had differently in that was I would have Neighbors on the second line over Booch. Now, I get what you're saying because I think you're right. They view him better defensively. I think you're asking too much of Booch to be a top 6 winger at this point in his career. And definitely for him to be a top 9 center. So thank goodness they fixed that problem.
Let's come down there, though.
That's the only thing that I really had different was I had it as Neighbors, McTavish, and McMichael. And then that third line was Suter / Stenberg / Berggren, whoever it is that ends up being over there with Dvorsky and Buchnevich on the third line. And you can kind of rotate one of those guys I didn't say in Walker's spot.
And the reason I didn't have Neighbors on that second line is because Neighbors prefers the left wing and McMichael is a left winger if he's not a center. So you have to have somebody who can play the right wing, which to me, that's Pavel Buchnevich, who's played both.
Alex is going to get so mad at me, so I'm going to talk to you about this. If you break up
the top line, we're not even doing this segment. We're done. I swear to God.
If you're breaking up the top line, don't look at me either.
If you suggest putting somebody on the top line so Holloway plays with McTavish, this is the dumbest segment we've ever done.
So what if you put Neighbors on the top line?
Jesus Christ.
I already don't like it.
All right, well, this segment was fun while it lasted. Hear me out.
Can you allow for me to at least present the argument?
Sure, man.
You're really killing the vibes on a Monday.
Jesus.
Okay, I'm a little worried about the speed or lack of speed on that second line.
I think that's a problem for most of your lines.
If Neighbors is on it, it's a big problem. But McMichael's fast.
In my scenario, Neighbors is not on that second line.
Well, McMichael's fast. Why don't you like McMichael?
So let me present to you what I would be interested in here. I don't think they'll do this, just to state that up front. But Neighbors on the top line gives you the net front presence. Then you have the distributor and Thomas, and you've got the shooter and Snuggerud. Those three skill sets, I think, complement each other quite well. So that's why I think that could work. You add in Holloway, who is extremely sound defensively in his own zone, also has fantastic speed and can clear out some space. And then you have McTavish, who just goes to the front of the net, right? And you add in somebody like a McMichael, for example, on that right wing. I think that can work, potentially. And you've got three skill sets that work together. And the foot speed by Holloway and McMichael, I think, allows for you to make up for some of the deficiencies that are there with Mason McTavish in that specific area. So that's why I would be interested in. Also, Holloway's just the fixer, right? You put him on any line and it works. So I'm going to maximize what I can get out of McTavish, and I think Thomas can maximize what I'm going to get out of Snuggerud and Neighbors on that top line. It also drops Booch down to a third line capacity where I don't have to see him on the ice as much. And if I'm Jim Montgomery, I think that's something that I would try to prioritize for the upcoming season. So Booch, Dvorsky, and then one of Suter, Drouin, who else? Berggren or Stenberg. Depending on who wins that job, that's your third piece of that third line. And that's just my responsible line, right? These guys are going to go out on the ice, and I don't expect them to score a whole lot, but I think they're going to be pretty good in their own end for the most part. So that would be my counter, is potentially dropping unfortunately, Holloway to the second line and putting Neighbors up to that top line in order to make the skill sets work.
Yeah, look, I can crap on that idea as much as I want, but if the chemistry's not there with Holloway, Thomas, and Snuggerud, like if it's not clicking in the early portion of the season the same way it did last year, I do think they will break up that line. I mean, we saw Jim Montgomery break up lines in the middle of a game if it doesn't work well. And I do think they'll look at this as spreading the wealth. If that chemistry's not there, then Holloway could bring the best out of McTavish. I just don't think Neighbors is going to be a top-line winger for them. I think they view Neighbors as the guy that can get those mismatches against deeper lines. I think if Holloway falls off that line, you're talking about either Buch or McMichael moving up to play with Thomas and Snuggerud. We may not like Pavel Buchnevich as a top six center or top six forward. Nobody likes him as a top six center. I'm just going off of the premise of what the Blues think, and the Blues like his defensive prowess, which is why, to me, I always look at pairs, and I think the pairs right now would be Thomas and Snuggerud, McTavish and Buch, and Neighbors and Dvorsky. Because
I don't think it should be McTavish and Buch. I think that's maybe what I'm pushing back on here.
Would you say McTavish and McMichael?
No.
I think they're going.
I don't think they have one yet for McTavish.
I think they're going the defensive.
What I'm saying is, in my scenario, it would be McTavish and Holloway. I think Holloway might be your best all-around player on the team right now.
I agree with you. I just don't think they're even considering that at the start of the season, because if that chemistry's there, that's a line that can produce 100 points.
And I don't want to break up a line that was elite last year.
I totally understand that. I'm saying I don't think this team's good enough to just be able to rest on its laurels of one line.
And I don't think they're good enough with depth, like what you're talking about there.
But in my scenario, I think McTavish can be one of those guys. Like, they did not have a second-line center last year. Just flat out. They didn't have one that they could trust at any point in the season, and I'm including Dalibor Dvorsky in that. Dalibor Dvorsky was a nice third-line center, but go look at the production. Offensively, he wasn't there yet, which is fine. He shouldn't have expected to be there yet. He was asked to be more than probably what he is at this stage of his career. McTavish can be that, though. If he figures it out defensively, and if he's got some line mates that can take some of that responsibility off of him, he's produced already 40-plus points in the NHL. He's produced already 20-plus goals in the NHL. This is a guy that can be that level of producer right now. But I think he needs quality players alongside him, and Holloway's the kind of guy that I would trust to get the most out of him. And I trust Thomas and Snuggerud to get the most out of whoever that third piece is on their line at this point in their respective careers. So, to me, that's why I would have Holloway as my pairing mate along with Mason McTavish, so that way you can win with some of that depth. I hear you, T-Bone. I totally get where you're coming from, but I think that's more likely to work for the way that they're assembled than to rely on one line to put them over the top.
And I just view it as I don't think anything would work then, right? Like, I just think then you're just saying, all right, instead of having one elite line, and look, you're not wrong, right? You're not going to win with just one line. That's a tough task in and of itself, but I think that's the only way that they have a chance here, because I look at it as if you're going to start pulling from that top line, now I don't know if I have four lines that I can trust, let alone just one. So I think I agree with Alex. I think you start off with it, and if you don't see the results early on, then I'm 100% with you. I'm all in on breaking it up then and putting the lines into a blender. But I think for the start, the plan should be Holloway, Thomas, Snuggerud, and we'll try and figure it out from there.
I also believe like we're too soon to just write off the fact that they have no depth. We just don't know what. I mean, McMichael was a really good winger in the 2 years ago when he scored 26 goals. He was primarily a winger with that team that was playing with Pierre-Luc Dubois and scored 26 goals. McTavish is a guy that when he was awful still scored 20 goals. It comes down to what those guys look like in this system, and even if they're not great defensively, offensively, you know where their gifts are at. McTavish is the net front presence that goes north. We were told that. And McMichael's a guy that can score off the rush when Doug Armstrong illustrated who he was. I think right now you're just wanting to find out how does it work with the style that we want to do and what's the chemistry look like. And the reason I put Buch there is Buch at times will disappear. But I think Buch has been labeled at times as a guy that should be a net front presence or should be a guy that can shoot. And the reason that Buch never worked with Robert Thomas, in my opinion, was because the guy always looked to distribute. You had three players that always were looking for somebody to pass to when it was Kyrou, Buch, and Thomas. And when Thomas, Snuggerud, and Holloway worked, you had two guys that aren't afraid to shoot. If McTavish is a guy that's more of a net front presence than a distributor,
I think, and it seems like that's the case.
That's what I think it is. But McTavish is a guy that his best assets are he goes north. Mm-hmm. He puts the puck in and he wins board battles. I think that
I would say one of your best board battles guys is Dylan Holloway.
I agree with that, but I don't think anybody else on that Thomas Snuggerud line wins board battles. I think Snuggerud's more of...
Could.
I don't know. Yes, Neighbors could, but I don't know if Neighbors does it in the same way. Neighbors is, to me, the guy that, yes, he can, but Neighbors' best assets are just go to the front of the net and take bodies with you.
Then I don't want that with McTavish.
That's why I want Neighbors with Dvorsky. And that's why I want McMichael with McTavish, because to me, if McTavish is the north-south guy, Booch is my distributor.
Doing on that line?
To me, that's the distributor. You're looking for offense, you're looking for space. And McMichael is the one, similar to Kyrou, that shoots off the rush, but we've learned McMichael's the guy that's not afraid to go into the front of the net. To me,
I think that's a lot of guys that do their best work at the front of the net. I need a shooter somewhere with them.
Well, and I think McMichael's going to have to be told, we need you to be a shooter and then crash the net. Don't crash the net, shoot, then crash the net. And that's what he was when he was the wing with Pierre-Luc Dubois. The real question is, what's Buchnevich? Buchnevich has to have the defined role of look, dude, we need you to be somebody who can win the puck if it's loose, but also finds guys in the spaces that need to be. Get the puck on net if you're one of those three guys.
I know we do this every year, so people are probably annoyed by it. How many guys in this top 9 do you think are expected going into the year to score 20-plus goals?
I would say...
I've got my number in my mind.
Expected, write it in pen?
I've got my number 2.
What's yours?
6.
Yeah, I was going to say 7.
I've got 7.
Who's your
I'm guessing
Thomas,
yours that
Snuggie,
you're going to say is not
Neighbors.
as Booch.
Yeah, I don't have Booch on.
I mean, he got
Booch
20
last year when he was terrible
Got 20.
had 20 goals.
Yeah.
Exactly.
More than Kyrou.
What was his total goal number?
20.
Hey, okay, so yeah, when I say exactly, I got no reaction.
Each of the last 2 seasons, he had
I thought you
20
were just saying
goals.
exactly.
No.
I'm like,
His
wait,
goal scoring production over the last 7 years, I think this is 20, 30, 26, 27, 20, 20.
He's what Shen was.
He's a 20-plus goal scorer.
Every year
I think
Shen
they're
got
going
to
to
it.
expect 20 out of him. It would not shock me at all if he is not a 20-goal scorer.
He's a
And
20-goal
especially
scorer.
if he ends up being on the third line, which I think he's going to end up being.
Mine's 7, and I could hear the argument if somebody wants to say Pew Suter. I just don't think Pew Suter's anything more than a
I think
4-point.
7's the
fits.
biggest
Yeah.
stretch that you could get to. I could hear the argument on Booch. Again, I would
You can
say
get to
no.
8.
Well,
Yeah, you could get to 8.
Who's the 8?
One of Dvorsky or a Suter.
oh yeah, I wouldn't bet on that at all.
I wouldn't either. He got to 12 last year, and I didn't think he was particularly good offensively, but
He wasn't.
given what he's able to do on the power play, if you wanted to make the case of him as a 20-goal scorer, you could. I don't think that's fair to expect.
And that's why I didn't
I
say
think
I'm
he's
not
more
going
of a 15 guy or 15-goal producer in the first full year at the NHL level.
I just look at where guys prefer to play, and right now you've got 4 guys that prefer to be left wingers: Holloway, McMichael, Neighbors, and Booch. But Booch is the one that has played both sides of it and has had success there. You need another right winger. So Drouin, I don't know if Drouin's on this team, because if you want Stenberg on this team, somebody's got to come off of that roster, because you're only carrying 14 forwards. If Berggren's back, which my assumption is he will be, then one of Drouin or Stenberg or Walker aren't on this team at the start of the year. And Walker's going to need waivers, Drouin's going to need waivers, and Stenberg won't.
My bold prediction, I don't even know if it's bold anymore. My bold prediction is that Stenberg's not going to be on this roster on opening night.
Mine as well. Stenberg's in the AHL with Jiricek and Carbonneau at the beginning of the year.
That's my guess.
I think that's very possible.
Unless he wins the roster straight up over Drouin and they say, well,
I think
we'll
he would
just
have to start.
I just don't. Do you?
I don't know.
Do we plan on Drew being like? I don't get the sense. I know he's on the roster, but I don't get the sense that they have a want to have him.
He's the
here.
one that I just don't know.
I don't know if that means they're trading.
You've got cap space, so it's not like you don't need to get
send him
rid of
through
him.
waivers.
I was about to say, what's the downside of him?
He's a right
they
winger
didn't
that
want
can
to
score
play
in
him
the
at all
power
last
play.
year, but they had him here.
In season, like if you want to go that route, if Stenberg is awesome at the AHL level,
You just cut him.
then you cut him.
Yeah. I think Drew.
What I would say is just cut him now.
I think
Well,
Drew
you don't
and
need
Berggren.
to.
Sure, but I think I would rather see Stenberg up here, Berggren up here
But
than
you can make
Drew.
those decisions when we get to training camp. There's no need to make that prematurely in case there's some kind of an injury or anything else. Like, you just have the extra depth right now. You don't have any cap constraints whatsoever. You don't have any roster issues whatsoever. Like, you might as well keep Drew in if you're not getting anything in return for him, and your option is keep him or cut him.
Yeah.
Keep him for now. See what training camp looks like. My guess is he's going to look fine in training camp.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, hey, if this is our 14th forward, we're doing A-okay right about now.
Yeah. I think Stenberg's going to be fighting for a roster spot with Druin, Berggren, and Walker. I think those are the guys that are competing for one of those roster spots, and it just comes down to asset management, like we always talk about. Stenberg won't need waivers.
Exactly.
And at that point, if he's the same as Druin and Bergen and Walker, they'll say, well, Stenberg gets to go play the top line in every scenario, and when somebody struggles, they will. Stenberg gets the call up.
Coming up next, what's your level of belief that the Cardinals offense will get this thing turned around? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. All right, what's your level of belief in this offense? I feel like we've gone through some ups and downs with it this season as they've gone through their ups and downs.
Downs, though, than ups than years past.
Yeah, no doubt. Jordan Walker, even during this dry spell, has still been pretty damn good when it comes to his average. He's just not hitting for power right now, which if this is what a slump looks like for 2026 Jordan Walker, boy, he's a good player because he's still been pretty solid overall. And then like Ivan Herrera, not hitting for any power right now, getting on base at an extremely high clip as Japan just took a 1-0 lead 28 minutes in against Brazil.
Brazil's that would be an upset.
Brazil's just a slump. They're not going to do anything in this one.
Okay, back to the Cardinals. So Ivan Herrera not hitting for power either.
Wow.
JJ Weatherholt just went through about a 5-game stretch where he wasn't hitting. Then it looked better again yesterday. So your top 4 not quite carrying you the way that it was. If you believe that's just a blip, I think there should be every reason to believe this offense is going to be fine. If, though, you think the first couple of months were more of the aberration and this is more them regressing closer to the mean, well, then they're going to have some problems, Alex, because they're not good enough 5 through 9 to overcome a lack of production coming out of their 1 through 4, and that's not dissimilar for most teams across Major League Baseball. You need your best dudes to be your best dudes. Mm-hmm. So how are you feeling about the offense right now, Alex?
I mean, like, to me, we've had these conversations already, and Walker's pulled out of his slump. Weatherholt's pulled out of his slump. So it's like I feel like I'm past the questioning these guys anymore. They're going to go through ups and downs because they're not just generational players. I will say, like, there's a little bit of me that wonders if Walker is just going to start going back towards what the mean is in terms of his power. And as we've talked about, like, if he loses the power, I don't know who provides that for you because Weatherholt's kind of here throughout it. Herrera's got it at timely just as much as Burleson does. But, I mean, if you're asking me on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being panic, I'd probably still put it at like a 3 or a 4. I just can't question the slumps anymore when I've seen them come out of the slumps. And if you go through a couple of weeks of it, man, that's fine because you're going to do this throughout the season. Do you do it at the beginning of the year when you need to build yourself a little bit of grace? And do you do it at the end of the year when you make your push? Because if you're slumping in the middle, everybody's going to go through these. So I kind of put it at like a 3 or a 4 for me. It's something that I'm monitoring, but it's something that at the end of the day, I'm going to look at and be like, yeah, that was going to happen at some point because they're not generational MVP players.
Yeah, I'd put it at a 1. I mean, I have no concern over this. I'd answer 0 if we'd allow it to be on the scale because...
No, sorry, it's not allowed.
I know, but I just look at this and I go, even the generation players like Alex is talking about, guys like Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, they go through 0 for 20 stretches. And I think we saw this in early May. That was when I really started to question what the offense would be because I think you saw Walker go through a little bit of a quiet spell. That's when Weatherholt had his first kind of blemish on the radar. And at the time, I think it was another one of these weird Herrera slumps where he's getting on base at a high clip, but he wasn't hitting for average or hitting any power. And then they were awesome in the month of May, or at the back end of May into early June. So I have no concerns. I don't think this is suddenly baseball's figured them out and they're going to be able to start getting them out. I think all 4 of these guys are going to ultimately be fine. And it's just a matter of how long does it take them to get out of this slump? Because that's the bigger question. Not so much will they figure it out, because I think they're going to be fine there. The thing is, can they figure it out some point in this stretch of the 2 series against the Braves, 1 with the Cubs, and then the Brewers series?
What if they can't?
Then they're in trouble. They'll be sellers.
What's your concern meter then?
It'd still be low because I still think they're going to be fine. But if you're asking me the concern meter for the team and what it means for their outlook on the deadline, then it would be up to a 9. But I have no concerns 1 through 4. I think all 4 of these guys are going to be fine. It's a matter of can they get going before the season is quote unquote over. And what I mean by that is we get to the determination of, okay, they have to be sellers at the trade deadline.
They have 1 month
basically
to figure this out.
Maybe even less than that,
I don't even think it's 1 month. I think by the All-Star break, they're going to know if they're sellers or buyers.
Probably. The decisions are basically made a month from now, though. And what I mean by that is, like, I was listening to a Chaim Bloom interview recently, and he was asked about, hey, when do these trade talks really ramp up? His answer was the same as Mo's always said in the past. Hey, this is a deadline league. There's about a week prior to the deadline where people really start getting into that. That's where you see the majority of the trades. So a month from now would be the week prior to the trade deadline. That's when they're really going to start making decisions that impact the future. The Cardinals on June 1st woke up, and their 1 to 4 were top 5 in Major League Baseball in OPS at an 805, and they were 7th in Major League Baseball in slugging percentage. Since then, the top 4 in the lineup, 1 to 4, are 14th in OPS at a 790, and the biggest reason that that's dropped is because of the slug, which is 19th in Major League Baseball at a 435. That's what's changed, and I don't have a fear of that continuing. even if they are like an 800 OPS as a top 4, guys, that's really, really good if you can get that out of the top half of your lineup. I mean, that's basically what we're talking about in this same stretch of time. Like the Athletics, we all agree, good top 4, right?
Yeah.
750 OPS over this stretch. Atlanta, we all agree, good top 4 in their lineup.
Yep.
Guess what their top 4 has produced over the last month? 715 OPS. Do you think anybody in their audience right now is looking at it and saying, oh, bleep, it's over for Ronald Acuna Jr. and the rest of these guys that are in our top 4?
Regression's coming.
They're going to be fine.
You'd be saying it.
Do you guys think Seattle fans are concerned right now that their top 4 stinks?
Yeah,
because they've been terrible.
One-hit wonder like Lou Bega.
For the last month. The LA Dodgers, top 4. 830 OPS over this stretch.
I was going to say, you can have regression and one of them break and you're still fine.
Exactly. So I'm not overly concerned about it. I think they're going to be just fine. It's just been a bad, 15 days basically for the top guys. But you guys are right. Like the real question here is, when do they get back? If it takes another 2 weeks for them to get back on track, well, now we're to the All-Star break. And how do they come out of that? Is the All-Star break enough to also break some of that chemistry and where they're at? And then they come out. It takes them another week to get it going again. And now, trade deadline time. That's the concern for them, is that they don't have the same runway as the rest of Major League Baseball to get this thing going. They have to be good by July 31st. Otherwise, decisions are going to be made that ultimately makes this all moot. The other thing they could do is call up Joshua Baez and potentially add some slug in that way.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no, we don't need. We're fine.
Yeah, we're
don't
fine,
panic
man.
over there, PK.
If you're comfortable and you think it's just going to be a little bit of a ditch and they get back out of it, then why are you calling up the guy?
I also still don't know how we'd play him, but you know,
there is one way they could do it.
Yeah,
Who's
put him
that?
in center.
Yeah, put him in center. Him or Newton center. They've shown him more of a willingness to put Newton center lately.
Yeah, which is surprising because they did it in back-to-back games too, which is definitely made me do the Brian Windhorse of, well, why would they be doing that?
Why would they do that?
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Can we talk about the NHL draft? Because I've got 2 big takeaways, one locally, one nationally. Yeah, let's talk about that next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends over at Classic Air Care, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. They have been helping people stay comfortable since 1926. And when it comes to Classic Air Care, it's all about the technicians and it's all about the customer service. A company that's got 100 vans. You've seen them, the orange vans with the penguins on the side, out on the road. And what that means to you is they're getting to places faster. So when you have issues that come up, when it's 90 plus degrees outside like it is this week, you call Classic Air Care. They're able to get out to you within 24 hours. But you're also getting technicians who have been doing this job for 30 plus years, which means you are getting the understanding of what's gone wrong with your HVAC system, what's gone wrong with your plumbing, your electricity, so that you know how to, 1, fix it, 2, avoid those problems in the future. Something they've got that I love is the maintenance agreement. Twice a year, they come out and make sure everything's good to go. And when issues pop up, you get priority scheduling thanks to that maintenance agreement. So call them today, schedule online. Just do me a favor. Tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. That's Classic Air Care and classicaircare.com.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals took down the Marlins yesterday 2-1. They are off today as they travel out to Atlanta, where tomorrow night they'll start a 3-game set with the Atlanta Braves. Martin Perez will get the start for Atlanta. Matthew Liberatore will be on the mound for St. Louis. 6:15 will be first pitch. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Why can't you pull your goalie in
Hockey?
soccer?
You can't pull it in hockey, buddy.
Because you then have to technically sub them out.
But
You're
it's
not allowed
fine.
to- well, but then he can't return.
You got to pull the
Yeah.
goal. You got to pull the goalie in hockey.
You could sub in a new goalie.
If there's a
Yeah,
whistle, can't
eventually,
you put the
but then
goalie
you're
back in?
wasting 2 subs there out of your 5 total.
I know, but I'm saying like
I think 2 of your 3.
What if I have all 5 in the
as
last
an
3
example,
minutes?
if Brazil were to score twice
Okay.
and we're in like the 87th minute, okay?
Okay.
Japan ain't scoring with just your traditional lineup.
First off, they've already scored, so a little hurtful.
I know,
to
but
the
let's be real.
Japanese.
In this scenario, Brazil's up, and they're going to be packing it in just like they just need to get the win, right? They're moving on. This is a survive and advance scenario. If you're Japan, if you give up another goal, whatever, we're already down. We're trying to continue to keep this game going with every fiber in our being. And that scenario, wouldn't you potentially be better using your roster if you pulled your goalie, put on another attacker, and said, screw it, we're just trying to get the goal here?
I mean,
Because we're not trying to play to lose by 1. We're trying to win the hockey game.
first
this
off,
is
we're
soccer
We're
playing
trying to win the
soccer.
soccer game.
Soccer
Damn it.
match.
I don't know. There might be a role where
Somebody
you have
said the
to
goalie pushes up. Yeah, but he's
Yeah,
not
I
as
was
good of an
like, I don't
attacker as
know
whoever
if-
you put on.
There also might be a role where you have to keep a goalie in, right? And I don't know if that's a thing or not, but look, a lot of times they will send the goalie up for like a free kick or a corner. They will put the goalie literally in the box for it, right? And to your point, would you consider subbing someone in? Odds are, though, you've probably burned most of your subs at that point. Like Japan,
Yeah, but
at
in
some
my
point, will start
scenario,
making
you've
some
got
subs.
2 more subs remaining because you can put in the extra attacker, and then if you were to score, you could sub out one of your players
I just don't
for
think
the
you want
backup
to waste
goalie.
2 subs on that scenario there because that's what you would be doing.
Somebody said you don't do that this early, BK. Yeah, clearly.
At the 43rd damn minute. Let's let some more game. Let's let some more happen.
It was something that I was thinking about. I apologize. Maybe it's really, really
BK's
stupid.
gotten
But
into soccer over the last month.
Here's another question. How
And it's leading
conditioned
to
is the
some weird
goalie?
questions.
I watched a World Cup documentary on the U.S. men's national team, and I am so ready for this Bosnia game.
Brazil just almost murdered one of the Japanese players. They just went in for a slide on the ball. He just
called a
toppled over.
tackle,
He
Alex.
just did like a backflip.
Tackles was the right word.
I said he slid. I didn't come up with any like terminology.
Someone
Mr.
said
Soccer
it's just
game.
stupid because then you could score from half field if no one's in goal. Exactly, which is kind of similar to hockey, which would be quote unquote stupid if it didn't happen all the time.
I've always thought that the
teams
goalie
in every game pull their goalie because they're down by a
should move to
goalie.
the soccer model, right?
I
Just
understand that
imagine
it is
Bennington
different.
going up in
Well,
the
that's what I'm
rush.
saying. I've always thought in hockey, the smartest strategy would be to get the goalie to get into the offensive zone and park himself in front of the other
But
goalie.
they can't move because of all of the equipment that they have.
I don't need you to. I just need you to stand in front of the net and block the goalie's eyes.
Somebody said, it's okay, BK. Glad you're interested in it, but these goalies are so good with their feet now that they could handle themselves. Maybe, but if they were that great, they'd be an attacker.
So, BK, you got really great ideas. We're just not going to use them.
I'm an idea guy.
I feel like his wife tells him that too most times. It's a great ideas. We're not doing any of this.
Somebody said adding another player doesn't really add as much as an advantage. Then why does it matter to play a man down? Of course it matters.
You know what you need? You need like the anti-hype man that like rap musicians have, you know, where they like sit on stage and they hype them up. Yeah, yeah. You need the guy that stands next to you and be like, BK, that's a stupid idea. You should sit like at the comedy club in New York.
Here's the
when
thing.
you said we should just go to, no, Brandon, that's a stupid idea. It's New York. It's a comedy club. You should go there. You know what? We should go to dinner when Pujols is playing in LA.
I would say I don't know if
Brandon,
it has a
dumb idea.
significant advantage for like a 2-minute period, right? Like what you're talking about.
But it's not none.
It's not none, but I don't know that it's significant. Like what you're saying when you go a man down.
none.
Like if you go a man down with the 60th minute, there's still 30 plus minutes to play.
Sure,
yeah,
but with
that's a
5
problem.
minutes to go.
Yeah, I still don't think it's that
It
significant
would
of an
matter.
advantage.
If you had one fewer player
Also,
on
that net is huge.
the pitch.
It's pretty easy to just lob it down the field and get it into the net as
Is
opposed
it?
to hockey.
It's not that easy, no.
I feel like it is.
Also-
I feel like the goalie could just punt it down the field and put it in. I feel like you'd see more goalie goals if the goalie was pulled in soccer
Wouldn't you
than
wanna
you would
see
in
that?
hockey. Not in an elimination game when I'm down
you're
by
already
one.
probably going to lose. That's what I'm saying here. Is in this scenario,
That's crazy, man.
you're probably going to lose either way.
Nah, you
So,
crazy dog.
What is our best chance to score the equalizer? The answer might be with the extra attacker, but and I could also be wrong. I don't think it's ever happened before.
Doug Glatt.
And I was curious, is this a rule or is this just something that we've just decided this is the way we've always done it, so this is the way we will continue to do it? I was curious.
Doug Glatt says, you guys are annoying as F.
Somebody said, why don't baseball teams pull the catcher when no one is on base?
Well, who's the pitcher throwing to then? The umpire?
Well, I guess it technically wouldn't really matter as
throw
long
it
as
as
it
they go
goes
together.
over the strike zone.
I mean, technically, if I could put the
Because there's
catcher
no
in the
wild pitch or pass ball when there's nobody on base. It is a good question. Why
Then you put the
don't
catcher
you
in the
pull your
outfield.
catcher?
Does he take all the gear off, or does he have to play the field with his gear on?
Somebody said there's no icing in soccer. You can just clear the zone for free. No, there is icing. It's called, it goes out of bounds and then the other team gets it.
Well,
that's the equivalent of icing.
That's
But that's the equivalent of it.
Yeah, but icing means you start back on
in
the other
hockey,
side.
there's no out of
Yeah,
bounds
but
area.
if you
It's
kick it all the way out of
because
bounds on the other side of the
boards.
field, they get the ball on the other side of the field.
Exactly, which would be
icing
the
goes
equivalent
back
of
into the
icing.
offensive zone.
Yeah, but in this scenario, you can
No, you're
kick it all
wrong
the way
here.
back down to
You're
the other
wrong
side.
here. You're wrong here. This is a stupid idea. We just wasted
the
6
rule
minutes
book- I
talking
just
about
looked
this.
Up. The rule book says you had to have a goalie on the field at all times, but to BK's point, why not just put in a forward and put him in goalie gloves? And
Who said that he has to
Yeah.
actually be a goalie?
and he's not required to be in just one spot, right? Because he could.
I'm guessing
move
he
up
just
the
has to wear
field.
the jersey.
Yeah, wear the jersey and the gloves.
Oh, man, how great would it be seeing in play the guy takes the jersey off and hands it to one of the forwards and says,
Again,
you're the
you would
goalie now.
You would be burning 2 subs, but if you happen to have those late in game,
Somebody also makes a fair point here. In BK's infinite wisdom, he would like to go to extra time and eventually penalty kicks without his best goalkeeper in net. Yeah, that'd be a problem for us.
No, you go to extra time and penalty kicks if it's tied.
Yeah, and that's
why
what
would
he's
you
doing.
Why would you be pulling the goalie? Oh, you mean
he's
if you
to
tie
tie
the
it,
game?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
If,
yeah.
in
And
my
loses his
scenario,
backup goalie
the
in.
best case scenario for
Or-
me is probably tying the game.
And then taking the lead.
or knowing BK, he would make this with only 1 sub and then have a forward playing goal for extra time
mean,
in
Technically,
penalties.
you should have somebody trained as a backup goalie just in case. And then that guy could play for you.
Somebody said, you have 11 players on the field. You can't have all attackers. BK's lack of willingness to listen is calling me crazy. Call me and I can explain this to him.
Can I get my money back on this segment? I'd like mine back too, if that's okay.
I apologize. I'm really excited for the soccer tournament that's
this
currently
segment
being
was
played. Huh?
Yeah, at the 48th
This
minute.
segment was sold.
At the 48th minute of the match, he's really excited and would like to pull the goaltender.
No, in the 90th minute, which is basically the end of the game, but we've got the added time.
Yep. I feel like we're all dumber because of this segment.
I
And
do
may God-
apologize.
And may God have mercy on your soul. See, that's why you need an
Team Japan.
anti-hype man. Somebody needs
Okay.
to tell you this was not a good idea.
Coming up next, we will discuss
Is the
the
junk
NHL
drawer.
draft.
In the
Because-
junk drawer.
That's
belong
where it
there.
deserves to be.
Whoa!
We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN. Some of you might be asking, when is BK going to unlock his inner champion? Well, I've done so despite that last segment, and I did so with my friends over at Victory Men's Health. You can do the same. VictoryMen'sHealth.com is the best place to contact them. Go over to their website today. They have 4 great locations across the St. Louis area. You can tell them which office works best for you and put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then they'll be able to help you unlock your inner champion. At that first appointment with Victory Men's Health, you will get a consultation with a licensed medical provider. They'll do some lab work for you, find out where all of your different levels are at. You come back and you find out what those results were for you. For me, that meant finding out where some of my deficiencies were. And they put together a personalized plan for me with their supplement shop to unlock my inner champion. For you, it could look a little different. Maybe it's low testosterone. Maybe it's weight loss goals. Maybe it's sexual health. Could be learning more about their red light therapy programs. All of it is available for you today at the 4 great locations across the St. Louis area. It's Victory Men's Health and online at VictoryMen'sHealth.com. We're at the half. It's 1-0 Tokyo, or excuse me, Japan over.
We're done.
I'm sorry, on the screen is Tokyo.
We're
Soccer
done.
guy.
We're done.
Japan up 1-0 at the half over Brazil, who's one of the, 5 leading candidates to potentially win this thing?
Yeah.
Boy, not looking good for them, but I think they'll probably still find a way to win this.
Because they'll pull
over on the
goalie.
YouTube chat, youtube.com/101 ESPN STL from iRock. You guys did a good job. Now people won't bug you anymore to talk about City SC.
Technically, you did what I do, the equivalent of laundry. Like, I don't do the laundry because I screw it up once and nobody asks me to do it in my house.
Put some reds in with the whites and suddenly everything's messed up.
Key to life. You screw up once.
I
people
find
say
ways
you
to
can't
get
do
out
it.
of a lot.
Less responsibilities.
Okay, let's talk about the NHL draft. What was that? And why?
I don't know anything that happened other than all of it in mute. So it was like a silent movie for me.
That was the way to watch it.
You were better off for that.
All I know is I had to kill time to announce who the pick was because we had to sit and stare at Justin Bieber standing and doing nothing for 5 minutes.
In the first 35 minutes of the draft broadcast, there were 2 draft picks that were selected.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah. Because you had to sit in a stage and listen to an interview with Gavin McKenna and Justin Bieber for the longest time.
Which was cringy.
I don't think San Jose.
Awful.
I don't think San
So
Jose was on the
horrible.
clock until like 10 minutes after they picked it.
So they announced that Justin Bieber is going to come up and make the pick, which fine, whatever. Like, it's not for me, but all right. I guess if you're from Toronto and Biebs is your guy, I could understand. Like, if John Hamm made the pick for St. Louis, we'd be like, that's our guy, John Hamm, right?
Still
so
out.
that's fine. If that's playing to
draft,
their
yes.
audience, it's not for me, cool. But make the pick and let's keep this thing moving. If you want to do the interviews afterwards, great. Don't have Matthew Schaefer do it.
Well, and what was weird is they had like guest announcers for some of the picks, and then other picks, Bettman just announced it.
Can we
find
just
anybody.
have somebody
Probably.
whose job is to interview these players and has put in the work to be prepared to interview them, ask some questions afterwards? And if not, then let's just not do that.
If you're doing
which is also fine.
If you're doing an ESPN broadcast, just put them at the ESPN desk to do an interview. Why do we have to have a separate person doing the interview? Plus, it was Leah Hextall, which like the worst person to do an interview. We're going to have her sit and talk to him.
I don't know who it was that was sitting on the couch. She was with SN. She wasn't very good.
So I think that was Leah Hextall.
No, Hextall
there was
somebody
another
else.
one. Hextall was doing interviews
one who sat
with
at
other
the
people.
couch with Biebs and
It was
McKenna.
all so cringeworthy. And the worst part is everybody felt unprepared to do it. Like, Bieber was very clearly not sure what he was supposed to be doing.
He probably was told, you're not doing an interview, you just need to announce the pick, and then they brought him over to sit down and do an interview.
He was getting ready to announce the pick, and he went over to Bettman and said, hey, it's McKenna, right? Like, what? He clearly forgot his first name. He said, we'll announce Mr. McKenna.
He said Mr. McKenna?
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
Let's go ahead and listen. T-Bone, I've got this audio in our folder for today.
He really said Mr. McKenna?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
He did not announce Gavin McKenna with the first overall selection is going to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Maple Leaf superfan.
Take a listen.
Mr. McKenna, we would like to draft you to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That was the announcement.
So cringeworthy.
Like, it's very structured.
God.
It's with the first overall selection in the 2026 NHL draft, the Toronto Maple Leafs select
Mr.
Gavin McKenna, winger, Penn State.
You think
right?
Mike
Like,
was watching it and be like, oh, my God, I was just drafted first overall.
If you're the NHL, though, you give him a piece of paper to read from.
Yeah.
Did he have
That's
it?
what they do
I don't think so.
No.
He had nothing.
At the NFL, now they don't do it in the first round, which, again, I don't understand why we're doing it in the first round. It's the biggest moment of these kids' lives. If you're going to do it, I would say it's in the second round and beyond.
Well,
But the NFL, they give those guys a cue card like BK's making reference to.
Well, on the
there.
Buffalo pick, the former Bill, I'm forgetting his name right now, that came out to announce the pick, he called it the NFL draft.
Yeah.
All of it, look, I like the decentralized draft. I think this is so much better because once you got past those first two picks, it went quick. It was flowing. You had to waste 35 minutes because Justin Bieber was there and Gavin McKenna, which, look, man, do a 5-minute interview and move on. And then they're wasting it with Ivar Stenberg. Pick, move on. Once they got to pick number 4, I thought it flowed a lot better.
A little better for sure. I
think the product looks terrible the way they did
And
it.
I also just stop with the guest ones. Like,
I think
just have somebody from the organization. I actually thought if it wouldn't have sucked so bad last year, I actually liked when they went to the war room and the team announced who the player was.
Either way, who's this for? Who's the target demo? Who is randomly flipping through the channels and says, oh, Justin Bieber, I like him, and decides to stick with the NHL draft?
Well,
Nobody.
They were listening to 101 ESPN and watching us on YouTube for that.
That's
Let's
right.
be who is watching the NHL draft? It's diehard NHL
Hockey
fans,
fans,
right?
yeah.
It's and not just hockey fans, Alex. We're talking about the most diehard of hockey fans.
Yeah.
Because your casual hockey observer, like my wife, likes watching hockey. This is not something that plays to her. She likes watching the games, the action that's on the ice, right? She doesn't care about who gets picked where and what they're coming from. The only thing she might care about is the stories, but those are barely even told because there's so little room for any of that.
Yeah.
And can I make a suggestion for ESPN real
Sure.
quick? Can we get just legit NHL draft breakdown people on your desk? Mm-hmm. Just people that this is what they do. When I watch the NBA draft, you know who I like to hear from? Guys that have watched these dudes that can discuss how they're going to translate to the NBA level. I don't want to hear what Kendrick Perkins has to say about him. I don't really care what Stephen A has to say about him. If they want to do a separate telecast, cool. But I want to watch NBA draft analysts. When I watch the NFL draft, I want to hear what Daniel Jeremiah has to say. I want to hear what Mel Kiper has to say or Todd McShay has to say because they are draft analysts. This is their job. So for the NHL, that to me is a big part of this as well that they're missing on is have some people up there that just like, this is the job. This is their
doesn't have
role.
it. They don't have people that are dedicated to the prospects and the draft, and there's so many great individuals out there that can. It's why on day 2, I typically watch TSN's broadcast because they have, in the past, it's been Bob McKenzie, but they have Craig Button. They have different people who spend time watching these individuals break down what's taking place. The fact that ESPN has not invested for the hockey side of things, payroll of people that cover this and only keep putting And I like Kevin Weeks, but Kevin Weeks is there for NHL trades. Kevin Weeks is there to break down when Dorofeyev is traded and when Mason McTavish is traded.
But he's not even the only one on the desk to do that.
They have Kaplan on there, and I don't understand why Kaplan's on there. Kaplan should be somebody that's chiming in like Friedman does for TSN.
That role. I mean, Schefter's on the NFL draft coverage to break those trade
does that for TSN, to where they go to him to find out what's taking place on the floor and whatnot. You need to have somebody who is the analyst of the players that are being selected, and instead you've got Bucci Gross and Kevin Weeks and Kaplan and Megan Chayka, who are all breaking down these guys who they only watch tape the week leading up to the draft.
And Chayka, like, she's fine. Yeah, she's an analytics person. There's nothing wrong with that. I think there's value in having somebody that goes through a model to tell you, hey, this is what our model projects for this player at the next level. Cool, that's fine. If I can have that next to the NHL equivalents of Mel Kiper, Daniel Jeremiah, or the Draft Express guys that do it for the NBA side of things, cool. Like Kiley McDaniel, his entire role with ESPN is minor league prospects, right? He is on their ESPN draft coverage for the Major League Baseball draft. That's all he does, is just talks prospects. Can we get somebody to do that on the NHL side of things? That is something that I was desperately seeking on Friday night, and it wasn't there. Yeah. So the draft coverage should be really excellent. This should have been a great draft for the NHL. There was a lot of star power and a lot of intrigue going into that night, not just here in St. Louis, but across Canada and just in North America as a whole.
Especially for how deep it was.
I thought they missed the boat.
Yeah, I would have preferred a lot more breakdown on guys because of everybody talking about the depth of this draft rather than when it's top heavy and nobody really cares about after the first two guys that are taken.
It was very frustrating.
I'm glad I didn't listen to it, and I listened to 101 ESPN's coverage.
I'm not just saying this to kiss your ass, Alex. It was significantly better to watch on the 101 ESPN feed as opposed to watching on ESPN.
Yeah, we took the ESPN a couple of different times when the number one pick was going to happen because it was the beginning of it. And then we took it before the Blues made their selections. And every time, it's 10 seconds delayed. So we went into it, and it was just awful breakdown. And I'm like, all right, we're taking this. And I just took it from there, and then I announced the picks after that.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. It's 102, your time check, brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up next, do you want to talk a little bit about the surprise, probably the biggest surprise in sports here in St. Louis over the weekend? No, it's not Mason McTavish. It's not Brandon Carlo. It was John Mozeliak announced as the new interim GM for the LA Angels. What do we make of this? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. I got to know what your reaction was, Alex, when you saw over the weekend it was announced John Mozeliak has been announced as the interim general manager for the LA Angels.
Honestly, I was like, I didn't even know he was available to join anybody else. I thought he was still like on the Cardinals payroll.
No, not under contract any longer. A true free agent.
It's just like, man, what a retirement. You come out and you do another press conference.
I saw it like the moment the tweet went out. I thought I fell for a fake Angels account.
I checked so many times.
I was like, what? This can't be real.
I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. Of all people, for them to hire John Mozeliak, I thought for sure he was going to take some more time away from the game. And I did not think he would take that job.
Like, that's an awful job.
It's terrible.
I was listening to some of his press conference, and he was like breaking down, like, well, we got to define who's good and who's. I'm like, damn, that's not going to be a fun job.
Think of this. He hasn't even spoken to the owner before he accepted the job.
He said today on TMA, still hasn't.
Yeah, he can't find Artie Moreno. That's impossible.
Look, man, Artie just puts the paychecks out.
Might be for the best.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Maybe.
Artie just puts the paychecks out, man. He doesn't have to talk to people.
I was shocked.
I want him to trade Trout.
To the Cardinals?
I just want to see him do it.
What if he was a mole?
All the talk to do it,
what
and
if
he's the one who does
joined
it?
and just was like sending things to the Cardinals?
I do wonder, and you guys know I'm probably a bigger fan of Mo than 95% of our audience. I think he's pretty good at this. I think it clearly had run its course here, but
was good at it.
That's fair.
I think the game's kind of passed him by.
Very well may have. What I'm about to bring up goes to that point. If you're the Angels and you saw what happened here in St. Louis, where the game had kind of passed the Cardinals by, whether you think that was Mo's fault or somebody else's, whatever, it passed the Cardinals by, and they had to hire Chaim Bloom to come in to revamp everything and to modernize everything. If you're going to hire Mo to do basically for you what Chaim did for the Cardinals, how far behind are the Angels? Because that means they're basically trying to catch up to 2016.
Yeah.
And they need to eventually catch up to 2026.
The answer, I think they're still stuck in, what was the year they made the playoffs with Trout and Pujols? 2014?
Yeah, 2014.
I think that's where they're stuck.
My God, man.
I mean, think of that for a moment, because you're right. I mean, they are far behind, and I also think it's this, because I would have thought if you're going to fire Perry Manajan, I would have thought, okay, you just name someone from his staff, the interim, and you kind of go from there, and you start this search over in the offseason. I think this is not a, hey, we are really in a bad spot. We need to kind of get to draft and develop before we can even get to the whole spending and free agency part. I think this is still Artie Moreno thinking they can win now with their roster. I mean, otherwise, why else would you hire Mo, to your point? Like, he's not a guy I would view as he's going to get you caught up to the industry. When I just said the industry surpassed him about 10 years ago, that guy was a winner. He can make us a winner now. That's what that hire screams to me.
Yeah, it's very strange. I was quite surprised by it. He says, the plan at least is they're going to make some kind of a hire. Earlier on TMA, I wondered if maybe he would stay on in some kind of a role. He sounded excited by this opportunity and kind of a fresh start somewhere. So I'm not sure it's as cut and dried as he's for sure going to hire somebody. But
I just think you're going to hire somebody to do all of the dirty work, and you just kind of be the guy that oversees it all and makes a big league paycheck.
Similar to what it was here.
Yeah, like the thing for me is, like, part of me's not surprised, because when you lose that big league paycheck, you want it back. And if I have to go do something to where I'm overseeing and I'm an advisor and I'm helping the organization guide them in the direction to win, but there's somebody else that's doing all of the press conferences, all of the decision making, and I'm just there as the backseat driver.
See, I don't get the sense that that's what he wants.
Because he said today on Team A he doesn't want a consulting job. Because that's what I thought this was going to be, was go be GM, do the whole hire the next guy, and then go into the Walt Jocketty role, which was like eating hot dogs in Phoenix and being far away from the team.
I think he wants to be a part of the baseball decision. I just don't think he wants to deal with the media and the availability.
My read, he wants to be the Pobo of the Angels and hire a GM that makes the baseball decisions, like he had in St. Louis before the pandemic with Gersh.
That's what I was going to say, is I think he wants to have what the plan was with Gersh. Yeah. Because the plan early on was, hey, this guy's going to kind of do the day-to-day stuff, the calling up and down within the system. But big picture is still John Mozeliak. Trade deadline, that's Mo. We get into the draft side of things. Mo was overseeing that. Hiring and firing within the organization, that's John Mozeliak. These big-time conversations still reported back to Mo, but day-to-day and a lot of the press stuff, Alex, to your point, that was supposed to be Michael Gersh. And then everything changed when the pandemic hit. And that was the CBA stuff, the pandemic, all of these different things. And Mo took back the reins for basically everything once again. So what they had previously planned never really came to fruition here in St. Louis, other than for like 3 months. And then it all got pushed back. I think there's at least a scenario here where Mo is the president of baseball operations with the LA Angels. And I do wonder, and this is something that I think should be on the radar for Cardinals fans. I wonder if he hires Randy Flores as the GM. Because that would be a pretty sizable promotion for Flo, where he's currently an assistant GM with the Cardinals. He would oversee in this scenario not just the amateur draft side of things, but also the pro side, and he would be overseeing the major league roster. And that is a direct, next time that you get another job, it's your baseball department. So I do wonder, because they have a good relationship. There are some Cardinals connections in LA as well, with Chris Carpenter out there. I wonder if there's a scenario where Randy Flores becomes the general manager for the LA Angels and Skip Schumacher becomes the manager for the LA Angels this time next year.
I was wondering if it was going to be Gersh.
Skip will be there since he's got the Rangers.
Excuse me, Daniel Descalso. I apologize.
I was wondering if it would be Gersh that gets the general manager job.
Now that would be something.
I mean,
we're really getting the band back together.
Got the history with him. Why not?
Oh, I think it was very telling when Mo kind of pushed Gersh to the side that I don't think he's bringing him to LA to run the show.
Why not?
I think Flores is the one that could make some sense. Or
he also played baseball at USC.
Oh, that helps too. I was going to say the other thing. Now, I don't know how involved he was in the hiring, but I could see where he could potentially circle Rob Cerfolio as someone that he would want, right?
I think that was a Heim hire, but I mean, he qualified for the job,
right?
yeah.
So, and he would make some sense for it. It wouldn't shock me at all that he would try and poach someone from the Cardinals front office. And the only way, and you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, BK, I think the only way you could potentially quote unquote block that is if you promote one of them to GM.
Correct.
Because they do have the general manager spot still open here in St. Louis.
Yeah, my guess is Heim's not letting Cerfolio go.
Yeah,
Flores I could see, but Cerfolio, I just don't see how you're going to let that guy go when the most critical thing about your organization is the development of your younger players.
Completely agree.
Flores, I could see he's been here long enough, and it's probably like, yeah, we're going in this direction. I could see the Flores one letting him go.
I wonder if that's something that happens after the draft. I wonder if there's a scenario where Flores knows, like, hey, I've got an opportunity out there. It's too good to pass up. I'm gonna fulfill my obligations here because we've already been through, I think, most of the international signing period. And then the draft is coming up in early July? Yeah. So we're about a couple of weeks away from that. I wonder if he gets a phone call this week from John Mozeliak and he says, hey, we'd like to interview you for this. It's not a foregone conclusion, but I think there's a real chance here for you. And then that potentially becomes the direction that this thing goes. I think there's at least a possibility. And if he does, good for him, man. He's deserving of some kind of a chance. The Cardinals have had some really good draft success. I don't think many of the issues that they've had with their development pipeline is on Flores. I think that was a development issue.
Well, the funny thing is I would say it was also a potential what Mo wanted to target issue.
Sure.
And it's funny that he would go to L.A. and go back to, we're going after sinker ballers who keep the ball on the ground,
Contact
baby.
pitchers, ladies and gentlemen.
Other name that got some hype over the weekend was Albert Pujols.
That would make sense. He's already under contract there.
I'm not saying with the Angels. He spoke about the Mets job on MLB Network and basically said, yeah, I'm interested. That owner is really committed to winning. He'll spend to win. And I have some relationships with some of their stars, in case you were curious.
But Mo and Pujols are tight, right?
I think they do have a pretty good relationship. Seems like. I think everything was kind of.
I think him and Yachty are not going to work it out to be the Angels manager.
So Yachty's the next Angels manager?
No, I don't think so. I think
maybe he'll be general manager.
I don't know that Stearns would hire Albert. That's where I think it's. I think Cohen would, but
I don't know if it matters at this point for Stearns.
Oh, you think he's on the outs?
I can't imagine he's feeling great about his current situation.
I don't know how comfy I feel right now with the Mets.
I don't know.
If that's what your owner wants, I think that's what you do right now when it comes to the managerial job.
Yeah, if you want to keep your job, you should do what the owner tells you to do for how bad that Mets team is.
Some news in the NHL. The Anaheim Ducks have traded Radko Gudas, the rights to Radko Gudas to potentially sign him in free agency to the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The Ducks get A.J. Greer in return.
The Ducks have 3 defensemen under contract. I don't know what they're going to do, and apparently they wanted to clear some cap space to go into free agency. I don't know if you guys have looked. Like, free agency is not that appealing when it comes to defensemen. We should
trade him the rights to Justin Hall.
Yeah, thought about that.
Or Castle.
Just that team that team's got a lot of defensive problems and questions that I'm wondering about.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about a lot of the teams in the Western Conference right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving and shaking going on in this offseason.
The trade board was just put out by Chris Dar, the updated one on The Athletic, and my God, the names on that trade board. So Zach Werenski, Dylan Larkin, Kirill Marchenko, Connor Hellebuck.
You know what's funny? Some of those big names, I don't think are going anywhere. Now that we're past the draft, I'd be shocked if Werenski's dealt. I'd be shocked
I think
if
Werenski's
I think Werenski's gone.
I don't know about him anymore. I think
Larkin's
that might
the one
be another
I'd be
offseason
shocked.
trade deadline question.
Larkin, I'll be wondering
Same
where
with Larkin.
Werenski goes. Wherever Werenski goes, I'd say watch out for the Dylan Larkin trade. Vegas is the one that I wondered with Dylan Larkin that they moved to Torofiev, but Yzerman is not trading him unless they get something back that helps them in return, and Vegas doesn't really have that.
We're about 30 minutes from Japan potentially pulling their goalie as Brazil has tied
Brazil's
it up.
got to
It's
score another
1-1. Yeah, we'll give it time. It's 1-1 tie between Brazil and Japan.
Pull it when it's
56 minutes in the round of 32. This is the first game of the round of 32. A couple more good ones later on today, including
Canada
the Netherlands.
won the first game, by the way, yesterday.
So this isn't the first one.
First game of
over
today
South Africa.
for the round of 32.
Man, you and soccer just have not been fun partners.
That was a tough one. That was a tough look.
Well, you also called it a game again, too, so.
That's what everybody.
At one point, are you ever going to just call it a match, man?
I'm not going to, and you can't make
I bet you think they wear jerseys, too.
They do. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. I don't have to use all the same terminology as what they
You do if you want to talk
in
soccer?
Europe. It is soccer.
No, it's football.
Yeah, but even here in American soccer, they use kit.
I understand. They use kit. They use pitch. That's fine. I'm an American that's watching soccer.
Oh, jeez.
You can't pretend to be better when you just started a
I'm
month
not
ago.
pretending to be better. I'm telling you I'm worse. I'm not going to use the same terminology.
American, and I'm going to call the American terminology for soccer.
I'm a red-blooded American.
It
This is
ain't
what I'm gonna do.
football, it's soccer. And they wear jerseys on a field when they play the game.
I'm going to watch the match. I'm going to watch the game in my George with a cold beer.
And guess what? When they don't score a goal, I'm going to say it was 0.
It was.
No, it was 0.
No, that's something they use in tennis.
You say
T-Bone uses
potatoes,
no.
I say taters.
Or love.
Please get it right. It's love.
It's Louvre, and he's a goaltender at development camp for the Blues.
In or out next. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Just know this, guys. I will never pretend to be something that I am not.
We know.
Yeah. So why do you pretend you're always right? Up top, T-Bone!
Yeah.
Woo!
That was well done by you.
Thanks, buddy.
I'll give you credit where it's due.
Thanks,
that was
buddy.
well done. All right, let's get into in or out. 314-399-9646 is the Air Covered Service text line for in or out. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are in or out. All right, let's start out with this, Alex. In or out, Mason McTavish scores at least 25 goals for the Blues next year.
I'll say out, because as the centerman, I think there's more responsibilities they're focused on. If you would have said 20 in, out on 25.
I think I'm with Alex. I think I would say out. And I can't remember who it was, which year it was, when the Blues switched defensive scheme, kind of. I remember someone saying, hey, look, kind of they had trouble focusing on the offense because they were so focused on defense. I could see where that's a thing for McTavish this year, so he doesn't get to 25. So I'd say out.
Yeah. And he's scoring 25-plus goals. Alex?
In or out, the Blues make another move before the start of the season.
What kind of move? Trade?
Trade or signing. And not like a minor league contract, just they bring in another player.
I wonder if they end up trading Suter for a second-round pick next year. The reason being, they don't really currently have a spot for him in the lineup. And I think they've got alternatives that can bring some of what he does. And you could get a decent piece in return.
Yeah.
If you're another team, $4 million, he does not have any no-trade protection. He can play the center position. We know how desperate this league is for centers. I could see that making sense. So I'll say in, and it's Pius Suter who gets moved.
I'll say out. I don't think anything. I think they're done. I don't think they'll move Suter, and the reason I say that is I don't think there's value across the league for Suter. He got a less of a contract than what we expected last offseason to sign with the Blues. And we had heard that, hey, this guy's a smaller centerman. The league doesn't seem to value that as much. And I would have thought he would have been a trade candidate at last year's deadline because he had no trade protection, and he would have had him for 2 playoff runs. So I'll say out. I think their off-season is done.
I'm going to say in. I think there's something else that happens. I don't know what and I don't know where, but not just Suter, but to me, Bergeron and Druin, like I don't know how all of those guys fit. Even a Kessel, he does have arbitration rights, so like they're going to go to arbitration with him if they sign him. What's the appetite for those types of players around the National Hockey League? Because I also look at the right wing, and I wonder, like they got a lot of left wingers, and you don't want to play a guy if he's not comfortable there. I wonder if you target somebody that could play the right wing in the middle six. So I'll say in.
Guys, we were talking about this during the commercial break. In or out, LeBron James is going to sign with the Golden State Warriors.
Glad you brought this up. I'm going to say in. I'm falling for this storyline.
I think he wants to play with Steph. It's the one guy you haven't played with yet. I think you want to play with Steph, and you got a shot at a championship again. I say in.
I don't think they have any chance to win a title.
I agree.
I think if he does this, it'll just be about the storyline. Because it's awesome, man. The two players really that you look back on this generation and say, like, they were the faces of the generation. For them to have the, I would say, heated rivalry that existed there for a little while, where it was back and forth on who's the best player in the world. This is like 2016 to 2018-ish. The Cavs versus the Warriors seemingly every year in the NBA Finals. For them to now be at the other side of it, and they could be teammates, man, I think that's really cool. So I'm in. I've fallen for the storyline. I think it would be amazing.
I think I'm in as well. I think it's going to happen. Now, I don't know about the whole Anthony Davis thing. I know there's buzz about them being connected to him, and it might be hey, we got to acquire AD to make it happen. I still don't know that I buy that he has to have AD. I'm in. I think this is the final year. He goes 1 year. I'm going to play with some of my buddies. I'm going to play with Steph because it's cool with the storyline, and then he walks into the sunset.
If I said, hey, you could put LeBron on any team in the NBA, there are cap issues here, so don't worry about that. Set that aside for a moment. But money aside, if you could just place him onto any roster in the league, where would you want to see him go? And you can have any reason for it. Storyline, winning a championship, just think it'd be cool, whatever the case. Where would you want to see LeBron go?
Mine would be Cleveland.
Go back.
I go back. They would have a title chance, especially if they move on from Harden. You got him with Donovan Mitchell. That's a pretty solid roster. I don't know that they would win it, but I just think the storyline of started the career there, ends up leaving, comes back, brings home the first championship in Cleveland sports in over, 50 years, and then says, you know what, my final year is going to be back in my hometown. I think that's just a beautiful story that you don't often see.
I agree with that one, but to go different, I'd like the Spurs.
You got it.
Play with Wembanyama.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to go with.
Upcoming star with the guy,
Yes.
the star of the league as he retires. That would be cool.
I had two. That was one of them because I think it'd be amazing to see he and Wemby on the same court. And I think there's a lot that he could impart on Wemby.
Oh, yeah.
Because he went through a very similar NBA Finals to what Wemby just did, where by the end, he just looked tired. He looked like he was not up for the task of
You can
playing
tell him
against...
that, in a couple of years when everyone loves you, you should leave to go play with the big three and win a championship.
Exactly. I think that could be a really great pairing. But if not there, Denver. Can you imagine him and Jokic on the same team? I don't know what that is defensively. It's bad, for sure. But offensively, the passing would be as good as we've ever seen in the NBA by two guys at that size.
I thought you were going to say OKC to pair with SGA.
That'd be fun, but they're already too great, so... Also, they're so
Well,
deep.
that's LeBron. He would always join a team that would
Go to the Heat.
chase
Go play
titles.
with Giannis.
There you go.
They'd get along
Return
well.
back to South Beach.
Yeah.
All right, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. You guys
How
give
to
us a
buy
scenario. We will
Giannis
tell
with
you
LeBron.
if we are in or out.
Send him to Memphis. He hated on it.
Guys, in or out. Walker hits 30 home runs this year.
I'll still say in.
Same.
I'm in as well. I like I said earlier, I don't see the slump lasting too much longer for him. I'm in.
It's hot in St. Louis right now. It's hard to hit home runs when it's this hot.
It is so hot.
You know, it killed me
Humidity kills it.
Oh, my God.
Let me tell you, it was nice jumping in the pool.
I went to the in-laws pool yesterday
See?
as well. Oh,
It feels awesome, man.
Went on my run, went in the pool, took a shower in between, promise.
Gross.
Yeah,
Why didn't you just shower in the pool, man?
Nah, it's their pool. I'm not doing that.
Chlorine, it's fine.
I know, no. That's gross. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service
We put
text
our
line.
dog in the pool, and that was fun to watch.
In or out, Cardinals will trade both O'Brien and Newt at the deadline. I'll say out.
Yeah, I don't think Newt gets traded unless there's value there. Newt might be an offseason move. I think it would be O'Brien and May would be the two that I'd bank on.
I'm going to say out because I don't want to see him sell again. So I'm going to hope for the best.
You better hope the next 5 series go well.
Yeah.
In or out, from the
for Atlanta.
YouTube chat, USA makes it to the final 8 in the World Cup.
Out.
Brandon?
Out.
He's watching a documentary and they're going all the way.
I was talking about. I think they're going to lose to Belgium in the second round. I think they can beat Bosnia. Belgium's still a good
BK
team.
is watching a documentary, man, and he's thinking they're going to beat
And
Belgium.
even if they don't, then the next round they would get like Portugal, Croatia, or Spain.
BK's
Good
watching a
luck.
documentary, and Portugal and Croatia aren't that good.
Belgium is barely even favored against Senegal.
They're a little bit older, but even when they're older, they're better than you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Where's Senegal?
God, this is going to be such a stupid
Where's
question.
Belgium?
People are going to get mad at me. No,
It's where Daddy's from.
it's not a geographical question. I'm looking at the odds right now. Odds are Belgium plus 120, Senegal plus 255, draw plus 230. They can't draw.
No. Unless they would
So
pay
is this
you
just
out.
full time?
I
Do
guess.
they not consider penalty kicks an outcome?
I guess that would
I
have
guess
to be what it is,
technically,
right?
because like when they put the score down, it would have to be.
'Cause
Because
that's
when
like
they
in
put
a
the
shoot-
score down, they'll put like
2-2
0-0
and then in
and then in
parentheses.
Because that's like in the
parentheses.
shootout in hockey, like they don't consider that.
But I just thought they never did draws at
Yeah, I
this
didn't
point
either.
in the.
But maybe
game.
betting-wise, they'd consider that the draw, and that's how they get their
Thanks
money
for not
back.
making me feel completely stupid.
No,
'Cause
I
I
think
saw
that's
that.
a
I was like,
very
this
good
is
question.
weird. It's a knockout stage. I don't understand
I'm
why
just
we still
glad
have
it wasn't
that.
where's
Man,
Belgium.
Yeah.
No,
that's
I'm
where
from-
Daddy's from. Austin Powers Gold member. He says, where's
I didn't get the reference.
That's
I
where
thought
Daddy's from.
I thought you were trying to
Come
say
on, guys.
that
You don't even know
YouTube
Austin
chat
Powers?
says it's based upon the 90 minutes. Okay, that makes sense. I'm in.
Stupid
U.S.
question.
gets to at least the round of 16. They're going to beat Belgium.
They said 8.
Oh, did they say 8?
Yeah.
Oh, God, they ain't beating
You
Spain.
don't even listen, man.
Out.
Yeah.
I don't think they're beating
Yeah.
Belgium.
Yeah.
Daddy's from.
They'll get to 16, not 8. 16's where it ends. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. Guys, in or out, the Cardinals will have at least a 500 record during this road trip. It includes the Atlanta Braves and the Chicago Cubs.
I'm going
over
to
the
say
next
out.
6.
I think you lose 4 of 6.
That's
Same.
where I'm at. Yeah.
And then you come home and you lose
Sweep the Brewers in
4
5.
of 5 to the Brewers.
Oh, God.
4 of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Holy.
So you've got them losing 8 of their next 11? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, then it's over.
I told you guys, it's a little concerning right now.
Well, that's not just concerning. Like that means they're at 500 going into that final
Look, you want
series
to put
of
words in my
the.
mouth? I'll say it. I think they're doing the same thing they did last year, and by the All-Star break, I will be telling you that I'm out on this Cardinals team.
YouTube
ruining
chat
the
said
vibes.
round of 8 is just beating Bosnia and Belgium. I think they would have to win one more game.
Yeah, because there's 32 now.
Yeah.
So you go from 32 to 16
To 8.
to 8. Oh, to get there, yeah, they'd only have to win 2. But to get past that mark, they would have to win 3.
Okay. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort
The
Service
question
text
was
line
getting there, so it would be winning 2 games.
to get involved
And their
in
matches,
the show.
Brandon. This guy.
Just trying to install his soccer terminology on the world, and
He
it's not
can't
gonna
trying to
work.
tell everybody that
BK's
he's
going
a
to be
soccer
trending
guy.
later today on Twitter for
I'm going to start a
trying to
poll.
pull the goalie.
I'm going to start a poll. How annoying is a guy that doesn't use the proper soccer terminology?
I'm going to give you
10.
dealer's choice here, Alex.
If it's Blues, I pick Blues.
Option 1.
I think you got a biased opinion over there.
We're officially at the mid-season point of the Cardinals.
That's intriguing.
No, it's not.
What are the 5 biggest storylines for the Cardinals so far this year?
You're a Ferrario fan.
Option 2,
Blues.
is the roster for the Blues better today than it was on opening night of last year?
Option 2!
We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Cardinals off today. They'll be back in action tomorrow night when they start a 3-game set at the Atlanta Braves. 6:15 will be first pitch. Matthew Liberatore on the mound for St. Louis. Martin Perez will get the start for Atlanta. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. All right, Alex chose. We could either talk Cardinals or Blues here.
Oh, the Cardinals are at the midseason point. What does that mean?
He selected the Blues.
It means nothing until they play the next series.
Is the Blues roster today better than the roster that we saw going into opening night of last season?
You'll be shocked by Ferrario.
I was going to say, do you want to ask T-Bone this question first? Look, I think it is in terms of expectation. Because I think the roster last year, in terms of expectation, we all knew what Justin Falk was. He's a fine defenseman, has offensive upside, but let's be honest, what he did this last year was exceeding expectations by scoring 11 goals. Brayden Schenn, going into the season, you knew at best he was a third-line center for you, but defensively he's not great. He's not the fleetest of foot, but you hope you could rekindle some chemistry with Holloway and Kyrou, and it didn't work. And with Kyrou, you just continued to hope that the 30-plus goal potential was there. Now, if you look at my roster today, I have Mayu, who's a year into what he showed last year, and at the end of last season, I think there was a lot of optimism. Brandon Carlo is a better defenseman than what Justin Falk was last year for you. So defensively, you're improving. And offensively, I think McTavish has a higher ceiling than Brayden Schenn. And McMichael is sold to us to be close to what Jordan Kyrou is in terms of a player. So I think you're better in terms of expectation, but it's hard to say you are better because you're in a lot of what-ifs with McMichael and McTavish, and still I see them play.
Yeah, I think they're about the same, if not maybe slightly worse. And the reason that I say that is because of what Alex just said there. There are a lot of question marks on this roster. And as we were kind of going through the lines earlier today in the 12 o'clock hour, there's just a ton of questions as to how you're going to be able to construct this thing, because either way, if you go top heavy on the top line like Alex and I, well, then there's some serious questions in that bottom six, or excuse me, in the bottom nine there. And then if we go with BK's route of, okay, let's break up the top line, well, I still have significant questions for what they're going to look like. And the other thing that is kind of my intrusive thought, just looking at how this roster kind of projects, is I think they could be worse defensively from their forward group this coming season because of significant question marks about McTavish's defense and why Quenneville decided to scratch him in the regular season and in the playoffs. And anything that you read about McMichael was, this guy's got speed, could be a goal scorer, probably belongs on the wing, has no idea what he's doing defensively, and that seems problematic. So if these guys don't bounce back in their goal scoring, they're not going to be able to make up for their lack of defense. So I could see a scenario where they're about the same, which is I think where they are today, pretty similar to it. Or I think it's possible that they could be slightly worse.
Do you know who the third-line wingers were last year, Alex, on opening night? Do you remember?
Bukes had one of them?
No, he was on
the fourth line. Suter was one of them.
Wasn't he centering the third line? Yeah, I think he was centering the third line.
Oh, yeah, because Dvorsky wasn't on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Did we cut Saad last year? I always forget what year we cut
2
him.
years ago.
Boy, I'm trying to remember, because Booch and Kyrou were in your top six.
Mm-hmm.
Holloway and Kyrou played with Schenn.
Mm-hmm.
So Snuggerud.
He was in there.
And Neighbors.
That was one. You're missing one.
Who was one?
Matthew Joseph.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Joe.
Was a third-line winger.
Okay, I knew there was someone that
was Neighbor, Suter, Joseph, I believe, was a third line.
I knew there was someone they put on waivers. For some reason, my brain was thinking Saad.
So no, you were on the right path.
So then it was Kyrou, Schenn, and Holloway, and then Booch, Thomas, Snuggerud.
Correct. The reason that I bring that up is because you're basically replacing, going into opening night this year, Schenn, Kyrou, and Joseph among the forwards, and you're replacing Falk and Tucker among your defensemen, because those guys were both in the lineup on opening night of last year as well. I think your ceiling is a little bit higher than it was last year, and I think the floor is a little bit lower than it was last year. You've just increased the range of outcomes. To me, this is extremely similar to the 2026 Cardinals, where it could have gone really bad for this team, man. Imagine if instead of J.J. Weatherholt being as great as he's been at the top of your lineup this year, he went through a typical rookie struggle season where he's hitting like 220, getting on a base at an okay clip, but doesn't have a whole lot of pop. and he's just playing great defense and looks good on the bases, but he's not getting on as much as you'd like. That would have been totally understandable, but it would have been a big problem for the offense. And then if on top of that, you had Jordan Walker just being what he has been, I don't know, his entire major league career, well, then this offense would have been below average at best, probably bad. And now suddenly we're talking about them as a bottom 5 team in all of Major League Baseball because this pitching isn't good enough to overcome that. So that's what I'm saying with the Blues. You have Mason McTavish, there's a ceiling there. Connor McMichael, there's a ceiling to his game that exists. Brandon Carlo has been a top 4 defenseman on really good teams in his past. In fact, was a top 4 defenseman playing 20-plus minutes a night for the President's Trophy team.
That's a top pair defenseman. He was playing with Charlie McAvoy.
With Jim Montgomery. I mean, he could come in here and legitimately be the 3rd best defenseman on the roster, and it shouldn't shock anybody. So the ceiling has definitely gone up a little bit, in my opinion, compared to where you were last year. I also think it's fair to say, though, that my floor is not as good as it was with Braden Shin, Jordan Kyrou, and Matthew Joseph.
Agreed.
My floor is not as good defensively as it was with Falk and Tucker, potentially. So I do think there are legitimate questions that exist, but I like the fact that they've increased the range of outcomes.
I think this roster closely resembles what Jim Montgomery wants from his team more than what last year's did.
Really?
Yeah, because I think they have more guys that are willing to go to the front of the net than what, even though Shen did, than more than Kyrou and Joseph wanted to. You're bigger defensively, which I think he would prefer to have on his defensive end, and I think you have more guys that are willing to go offensively when you take Tucker out of the lineup and you replace it with a Theo Lindstein. Now, is it better? That I don't know. Because really what this comes down to is Robert Thomas ready to play at the beginning of the season? Can he rekindle the chemistry with Holloway and Snuggerud? And did you bet right on McMichael and McTavish? But what I do believe is that this roster closely resembles the way Jim Montgomery wants to play hockey.
The reason I asked that question right off the bat when you said you think this resembles more of Monty. Now, the 2 things that you did say, I understand, right? The defense being bigger, that screams more Montgomery. Going to the front of the net, that screams Jordan Montgomery or Jim Montgomery's kind of coaching style.
Screams Jordan Montgomery, too. He's a big guy.
Yeah. The thing that it doesn't, where I immediately said, really, was the 2 of the guys that they brought in are known as not good defenders on the offensive side of McTavish and McMichael. I mean, as BK said, like the floor for these guys is, man, they're not producing point-wise, and they're not good defensively. It sounds like guys that would be sitting next to him on the bench, not on the ice, late in games.
To be fair, McMichael's not bad defensively. What I was told with him is he will exit his coverage at times to try and get offense. So at times, yeah, but like he was
how
also
I would describe that.
He was also used on the penalty kill a lot for the Washington Capitals. Like he was on one of their first penalty kill units. So like you don't put a guy on a penalty. Kyrou was never playing penalty kill for the Blues. McTavish is totally understandable, which is why I think they used him more at the wing than the center because of the responsibilities that are there. And we've already addressed the McTavish thing. I have my questions with that. But they obviously believe that you can work with the defensive personnel on that. And that's why I think Pavel Buchnevich is probably his pairing partner because you can cover that with defense. But I don't think this is hey, we got completely worse than what we were defensively. I think McMichael and Kyrou are pretty similar, and I think McTavish and Shen are pretty similar to how they play defensively.
Yeah, I've got my questions about McMichael just based upon some of the other reports that have come out, but it's fair. We can agree to disagree on that one. I'm going to bring up a comparison. It might sound a little strange at first, but I promise I'll try to land this plane. I remember when Mo Bamba was coming out in the NBA draft, people called him a theoretical three-point shooter. Because in theory, he's got a good-looking shot. He was a good free throw shooter in college at times. Like, in theory, he could be a guy that can stretch out and play the 5 while also shooting a couple of threes a game. That was never actualized in college, and so it was all theoretical. That's McTavish and McMichael as defenders right now. They are theoretically good fits for what you would see from a Jim Montgomery system. I have no evidence that they can execute on that, but they have the size. In McMichael's scenario, he has the speed to be a good defender, and McTavish has the physicality to be a potentially good defender. So, like, playing style, they should be guys that fit here. It's just a matter of can they execute it? Just like for Mo Bamba, it was a matter of can he actually make the shots when he takes them, or is it just going to look pretty? And the answer for him was mostly no. But we'll see if the answer is maybe a little bit different with the St. Louis Blues this year.
Don't even really remember Mo Bamba, so I'm glad you brought up that comparison that I don't even remember.
He was a fun player. Top 5 overall selection, I believe.
Was
in
he?
the NBA draft? Let's see
what year
here.
was this?
2018 NBA draft. That draft included, boy, was that a bad one. DeAndre Ayton.
Oh.
Marvin Bagley. Luka Doncic.
All right.
Jaren Jackson's pretty good. Trae Young. Mo Bamba at number 6 overall.
Man, I don't know.
Other players in that class included Colin Sexton, Kevin Knox, who I thought was going to be a really good player, and then some Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went number 11 overall at the time.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this too.
Regret the 1 through 10 pick.
I'll say this too for McMichael. When he was the wing 2 years ago with Washington, it was the best expected goals against per 60 minutes on the roster with Dubois and Wilson.
You take that.
So, and I mean, Tom Wilson is a big body, and Dubois is not known as a Selke Trophy candidate. So, I mean, to me, it comes down to who they mesh well with. Because if McMichael meshes well with McTavish, then maybe you have a little bit more concern. But maybe he meshes well with Dvorsky, and you have offense with defense. That's what I'll be fascinated by, because coaches always go off of pairings, and I just don't know right now who the pairings are going to be with those two players.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Hey, you can join the Fast Lane on Wednesday with Michelob Ultra at Ballpark Village for the U.S. men's soccer team. They have a match in their round of 32. Anthony, Carey, Jamie, Marshy, and Michelob Ultra. They'll be on site for 101 ESPN and Ultra giveaways starting at 2 o'clock. That leads up to the kickoff of the U.S. versus Bosnia. Michelob Ultra is a superior light beer and the official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26. So be sure to enjoy an Ultra as you cheer on your favorite team. That's Wednesday, starting at 2 with the Fast Lane and Michelob Ultra at Ballpark Village. Coming up next, we'll hit the rewind here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. I don't think you should be able to take the ball back into your own zone in soccer.
Yeah, like in a
Once
like 3
you
on
have
3.
entered the zone,
That's backcourt violation.
you can't go back to the other side again.
I
think
agree
it
with
would
that.
make things more entertaining.
Look,
T-Bone, we're going to solve this sport by the end of the
Yeah,
show.
so people have made
the
fun
most
of us
popular
today.
sport in the world. We're
If
going
you
to
put
fix it.
BK and I in charge, we'll make this game
That's
exciting.
why Americans
Also,
shouldn't touch the beautiful game.
If I was Japan, right here, I'm pulling the goalie.
You're tied. What are you talking about?
You're tied. You
get
got
to go to
3
extra
minutes
time.
left to play. This is where you pull the goalie. Get super aggressive,
don't.
man. We're either winning or losing. We've got an opportunity here, guys. I would not do it at like this exact moment because there was a corner
Icing.
kick. So that would have been problematic.
Icing, it goes down the other side.
But now's when you do it.
No, Japan has the ball.
Yeah.
But
That's why you're going to pull your goalie.
But there's 3 minutes left.
Exactly.
And
You
you're
get 3
tied.
minutes on the attack.
Most importantly, you're tied.
Who's making the saves and the penalty kicks?
Well, don't worry about that yet. We're not there.
But
We're
I
trying
had-
to score
we're
and
3
win in
minutes away.
regulation.
He's trying to fit. He's
Japan-
trying to win in regulation.
Japan hasn't spent
Exactly.
more
Thank
than
you, T-Bone.
Japan hasn't spent more than 10 seconds past the midfield line. And you just
We
want
need
to pull
another extra
Oh
player.
yeah, and that's just all of a sudden going to work.
Somebody said and play with no goalie in overtime. Well, guys, you
That
can
was
make another sub.
That dude had some short shorts on. I mean, they were riding.
This has been an outstanding game. In all seriousness, it's fun as hell to watch when you get a team that is supposed to be like one of the dominant options in this World Cup, and they are right up against it right now. They have their backs against the wall against Japan, and there's about 2 minutes left in regulation. I can't wait.
And if
to
they go
see
to
what this
PKs,
looks like.
literally a flip of the coin.
Who knows?
I love these moments
Anything
because
can happen.
then you watch these fans just break down in tears too, because how much
Wow.
this stuff
Oh.
means. Oh, I love chaos.
Well, Japan will cry if they win.
I know. And then Brazil that's a lot of tears in that stadium. It's like Monsters
wrong.
Inc. You know how
That's
they
what
like
makes you happy?
Yeah, you know how like Monsters Inc. they thrive off of screams that gives them electricity?
Well, I don't
thrive
mean to-
off of tears.
Spoiler alert, it eventually changes to happiness. They
wow.
thrive off of
Brazil
laughing.
just scored minutes ago.
Japan, it's over for him. Am I right?
I'll
Pull the
say
goalie.
He looked off sides. We'll wait for the VAR.
Well, if they pulled the goalie, then they would have scored still.
Yeah, it would have been a lot easier.
The defense didn't work for Japan.
Yeah, well, they would have been able to get it into the offensive zone.
Well, no, they wouldn't have because then they could have
We'll
had
agree to disagree. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
The Fast
God,
Lane's
my
going to have a
voice is
fantastic
going.
job for you guys later on this afternoon. They are going to be out at Ballpark Village on Wednesday. By the way, tomorrow we will be at Enterprise Center, where we are expecting to be joined by Alexander Steen, Doug Armstrong, Jim Montgomery. We're going to have Jeremy Rutherford join us on the show as well. So if you're a Blues fan, go ahead and tune in tomorrow between 11 and 2. We're going to have plenty of Blues conversations tomorrow. We will talk to you then. The
Sexy
Fast
goal.
Lane is next here on 101 ESPN.